A young woman sits inside a moving car. Her head spins badly, and she struggles to stay awake. The driver notices her condition and assumes she has been drinking. She quietly says she feels dizzy as her eyes slowly begin to close. The girl fights to stay conscious, but her body gives in. She eventually collapses against the seat and falls unconscious. The driver smirks as he notices this. Moments later, the car suddenly stops in a deserted area. Another man quickly approaches the vehicle. The two men clearly have bad intentions toward the unconscious girl. Suddenly, she opens her eyes and asks what they are doing. The newcomer casually claims they are just trying to wake her up. The driver wears a creepy smile and tells her to stay still. He promises to give her a good time. Hannah immediately warns both men to think carefully about their next move. Instead of listening, they mock her and continue moving closer. One of the men starts unzipping his pants, but before he can do anything, Hannah strikes with a powerful kick. The attack sends him crashing to the ground instantly. She calmly reminds them that she already warned them. At that exact moment, flashing police lights cut through the darkness. Several police cars rush into the area. A lieutenant quickly calls out Hannah's name and runs toward her. He looks shocked when he notices the blood covering her body. The lieutenant lets out a deep sigh. It is clear this is not the first time Hannah has ended up in a dangerous situation. Other officers gather around and begin talking about her. One of them reveals that she is Sergeant Hannah Lee. Turns out Hannah is a famous counterterrorism agent. She was recruited from a special missions unit by a private military company. Her reputation is legendary because she has never failed a mission. As a result, the bounty on her head becomes incredibly high. The officers also mention her twin brother Do-yeon. He works for the intelligence service. One officer wonders why the famous siblings chose such different careers. He also questions why Hannah is currently in Korea and whether she might join their team. Meanwhile, the lieutenant scolds Hannah. He reminds her that he specifically ordered her not to kill anyone. Hannah remains completely calm and insists that nobody died. The lieutenant still looks doubtful after seeing the condition of the attackers. Hannah explains that she was drunk and acted in self-defense. She admits she may have gone a little overboard. Then she hands over a burner phone and a knife recovered from the scene. Both items belong to the attackers. She explains that the phone contains a recording of the entire incident. According to Hannah, the criminals attempted murder and robbery. She also points out that their actions could lead to sexual assault and intimidation charges. The evidence leaves little room for argument. Hannah then stares at the lieutenant and asks for his shirt. She points out how clean his clothes are compared to her blood-soaked outfit. Reluctantly, he hands it over. Meanwhile, the officers begin arresting the attackers. The lieutenant thanks Hannah for helping catch them. He admits the criminals might have escaped justice without her involvement. Hannah, however, prefers money over compliments. She jokingly asks for cash instead of gratitude. The lieutenant eventually promises to buy her a meal after receiving his next paycheck. As they walk toward the police car, Hannah asks him to keep her involvement secret. She insists that nobody should know she was connected to the incident. The request immediately catches his attention. Curious, the lieutenant asks about her twin brother. Hannah explains that Do-yeon has been traveling constantly over the past 2 months. She lists several countries he recently visited. She also mentions that he went to Cambodia just last week. The lieutenant comments on how quickly Do-yeon moved into real operations. After serving in the underwater demolition team, he immediately joined major missions. Hannah praises his intelligence and abilities. She explains that he is currently involved with an overseas narcotics investigation team. Suddenly, Hannah's phone starts ringing. The number comes from Cambodia. She wonders if the caller might be her brother. Without hesitation, she answers the call. A representative from the National Security and Intelligence Service speaks on the other end. Before the conversation even continues, Hannah senses something is wrong. Then the devastating news arrives. The caller informs her that Do-yeon did not survive his latest mission. Nearby, the lieutenant watches her closely. He notices her growing anger during the call. Hannah begins shouting at the person on the other end. Her emotions quickly spiral out of control. Concerned, the lieutenant walks toward her. Hannah refuses to accept what she just heard. She firmly believes the information is false. No matter what anyone says, she insists there is no way her brother could be dead. Suddenly, Hannah starts choking and collapses onto the floor. She breaks down completely and sobs uncontrollably. The pain hits her so hard that everything feels unreal. It feels like a terrible nightmare she cannot wake up from. A childhood memory suddenly flashes through her mind. Back then, her brother promised that he would always protect her. He said he would never let anyone hurt her when they grew up. That memory only makes the loss feel even more painful. Hannah suddenly wakes up in bed and stares at a photo of them together. She firmly declares that her brother is the reason she returned to Korea. Then she hears an unexpected sound somewhere in the room. Curious, she immediately starts searching for the source. After looking around, she discovers a ringing phone. Hope instantly fills her heart as she answers it. Surprisingly, the caller is actually Do-yeon. Hannah quickly asks where he is and what happened to him. The signal is extremely weak and his voice keeps cutting out. Hannah struggles to understand what he is saying. Realizing the connection is failing, she desperately asks him to give her his coordinates. She knows every second matters. Do-yeon manages to say a few words. He seems to warn her about someone named Rennie. He also mentions being in danger of getting killed. The message is incomplete, but it is enough to alarm Hannah. Hannah immediately tells him not to hang up. Instead, she instructs him to stay silent while she tracks the call. She forces herself to remain calm despite the panic building inside her. The agency claimed he was dead, yet he is clearly alive. She quickly realizes he must be using an untraceable device. That can only mean he is in serious trouble. Hannah knows she cannot waste any more time. If she delays, she might lose her brother for real. Meanwhile, on the island of Sicily in Italy, a young man steps out of a swimming pool. Water drips from his hair as he casually runs a hand through it. This man is Julio Parenti. He is the powerful leader of the Sicilian Mafia. Julio receives news about an incident in Cambodia. He immediately asks who was handling the operation. His men inform him that Niccolo was in charge. They also reveal that Niccolo was shot and killed at the scene. Without hesitation, Julio orders his men to prepare everything. He announces that they are leaving immediately. A confident smile appears on his face. He seems convinced that someone is waiting for him there. Back in Cambodia, a man named Tae-jun contacts Hannah. His voice trembles with guilt as he apologizes for failing to protect Do-yeon. Hannah immediately cuts him off. She orders him to stop crying and answer her questions. She asks the one thing she desperately wants to know. She wants to know where her brother's body is. Tae-jun hesitates before answering. His response instantly raises even more questions. Tae-jun explains that they never found Do-yeon's body. A bomb explosion destroyed the area completely. He suspects Do-yeon may have taken something from the Mafia. Because of that, they might have targeted him with a suicide bomber. Hannah wastes no time after hearing this. She orders Tae-jun to meet her at the main exit of Phnom Penh Airport at 9:20 a.m. local time. Tae-jun is shocked by her request. He immediately realizes what she is planning. Tae-jun asks if she intends to come to Cambodia herself. Hannah gives him a simple answer. Since no body was ever found, she will continue searching. As far as she is concerned, her brother is still alive. Soon Hannah arrives in Phnom Penh. She waits anxiously for Tae-jun to appear. Eventually he arrives and takes her to another location. He also reveals that he arranged a tuk-tuk for transportation. Tae-jun is a member of the National Security and Intelligence Service. More importantly, he was Do-yeon's closest colleague. Hannah asks why he is not driving his usual car. The question immediately makes him nervous. Tae-jun explains that he is off duty today. He awkwardly mentions stopping by the office for something urgent. While speaking, he scratches his neck and struggles to maintain eye contact. Hannah quickly notices his strange behavior. Trying to change the subject, Tae-jun suggests leaving before the heat becomes unbearable. Hannah says nothing but continues observing him. Something about his actions feels suspicious. She becomes even more alert. As they ride through the city in the tuk-tuk, Hannah hands him a phone. She tells him she needs the coordinates of the last place he saw Do-yeon. Sweat begins forming on Tae-jun's forehead. His nervousness becomes impossible to hide. Tae-jun eventually provides the information. He explains that the location is 75 kilometers north of their current position. It is near Siem Reap in a small village. The details finally give Hannah a direction to follow. Tae-jun then warns her not to get involved any further. He claims it could create serious problems if the intelligence service discovers what they are doing. Hannah completely ignores the warning. Instead, she starts asking even more questions. She demands details about Do-yeon's final mission. She asks who he contacted and what kind of drugs he was carrying. She even asks about the clothes, shoes, and transportation he used before the explosion. Every detail matters to her investigation. Hannah makes it clear that Tae-jun will answer everything. Otherwise, she promises to make things very difficult for him. Faced with her determination, he finally gives in. Reluctantly, he agrees to cooperate. The two eventually arrive at Do-yeon's apartment. Together, they begin searching through the place for clues. Hannah opens the refrigerator and examines its contents carefully. The sight immediately reminds her of her brother. Everything inside is perfectly organized. The drinks are arranged neatly and precisely. It is exactly how Do-yeon always keeps things. Even in his absence, his perfectionist habits remain visible everywhere. No matter how much Hannah thinks about it, her brother's death makes no sense. The entire situation feels wrong. It does not match Do-yeon's personality at all. That alone makes her even more suspicious. Tae-jun begins explaining their recent investigation. He reveals that he and Do-yeon were tracking a dangerous new drug called KA-9947A. Their mission focuses on tracing its distribution network connected to the Italian Mafia. The case quickly becomes more complicated than Hannah expected, according to Tae-jun. The drug is extremely difficult to track. Unlike most hallucinogens, it can easily be disguised as a medical substance. This allows it to move through supply chains without attracting attention. As a result, many investigators struggle to detect it. Tae-jun then explains what happened before Do-yeon disappeared. The two agents were supposed to meet at a rendezvous point connected to the drug operation. However, he suddenly lost contact with Do-yeon. The unexpected silence immediately raises concerns. When Tae-jun finally catches up to him, he demands an explanation. To his surprise, Do-yeon has already decided to continue the mission alone. This reckless decision leaves Tae-jun completely confused. Things only become stranger from there. The discovery of Do-yeon's connection to the Mafia shocks him. He still cannot understand why his partner acted that way. Listening carefully, Hannah begins processing every detail, but something continues bothering her. She still is not sure whether she can trust Tae-jun. His earlier behavior leaves too many unanswered questions. Hannah suspects he may have already informed his superiors about her arrival. Because of that, she decides to remain cautious. For now, Hannah focuses on gathering information. She keeps her guard up while questioning Tae-jun. Every answer could bring her closer to her brother. At the same time, every mistake could expose her position. Hannah also realizes another dangerous possibility. If her brother was being monitored, then his apartment may already be compromised. Someone could be watching or listening. That thought immediately puts her on alert. Without hesitation, she turns on the TV. Then she raises the volume to the maximum level. The loud noise fills the apartment instantly. It serves as a simple way to interfere with possible listening devices. As Hannah studies the room, she notices something strange. Her brother hates disorder more than anything. Everything in his life follows a precise pattern. Yet some details inside the apartment seem slightly off. Whoever entered the apartment clearly knows Do-yeon very well. However, they fail to recreate everything perfectly. The drink labels are not aligned correctly. Even the clothes hangers are arranged differently than usual. Those small mistakes catch Hannah's attention immediately. She knows her brother would never overlook details like that. As a result, she becomes convinced someone has already searched the apartment. The place is no longer trustworthy. Determined to find answers, Hannah enters Do-yeon's bedroom. She carefully examines every corner of the room. Then she notices something familiar. It is a hidden projector disguised as an ordinary lamp. Hannah immediately recognizes it. Her brother once showed her how it worked. As she studies the device, she wonders when he installed it. The discovery convinces her that he intentionally left something behind. Realizing she needs additional help, Hannah makes a difficult decision. There is one person she never planned on contacting again. But the situation is becoming too dangerous. She no longer has many options. Hannah picks up her phone and dials a familiar number. The person answers with a cheerful greeting. She remains silent for a few seconds. The voice on the other end immediately recognizes her. The man jokingly asks if she got drunk and called the wrong number again. The comment suggests a long history between them. Hannah ignores the joke completely. Instead, she simply asks how he is doing. The man is revealed to be Logan. He immediately questions why she is suddenly in Cambodia. Hannah responds with suspicion. She jokingly suggests he sounds more like a stalker than an ex-lover. Logan laughs and admits that he missed her. He even jokes about enjoying the habit of keeping an eye on her. Hannah quickly changes the subject. She tells him she needs his help. In exchange for his assistance, she offers information about an active case. She hints that the details will interest him greatly. Logan's curiosity rises immediately. He wants to know what kind of case could bring Hannah back. Hannah finally reveals the target. The investigation involves the Mafia. More specifically, it centers around Julio Parenti, the leader of the Sicilian Mafia. The moment Logan hears the name, his interest doubles. Without hesitation, Logan agrees to help. He promises to join her as soon as possible. Before ending the call, he asks if she needs anything else. Hannah immediately requests her old weapons stock. Soon the story introduces Valentine's Day. Despite its harmless name, it is a private military company specializing in high-risk missions. Their reputation is feared across the world. When they target someone, death usually follows. At a Valentine's Day safe house in Cambodia, Hannah arrives on a motorcycle. She brakes sharply and steps off the bike. A former colleague rushes over and hugs her tightly. He wonders if her arrival means she is returning to the company. Hannah quickly shuts down the idea. She explains that she only came because she needs assistance. Then she asks about Logan. Her colleague suddenly looks disappointed. He reveals that Logan is currently at the office. He also wonders why Logan appeared so suddenly. Moments later, the mystery solves itself. Logan Valentine finally arrives. As the leader of Valentine's Day, Logan immediately gets down to business. Hannah presents a recording she recovered from her brother's room. The footage contains extremely sensitive information. What they discover is shocking. The recording connects several powerful organizations. High-profile criminals appear alongside the FBI, the CIA, and the Mafia. The evidence suggests a much larger conspiracy. Suddenly, Do-yeon's disappearance becomes even more suspicious. The footage also points toward Julio Parenti. Hannah becomes convinced that he played a role in her brother's disappearance. Officially, Do-yeon is listed as dead during a mission. Hannah refuses to believe that story. She believes her brother was secretly collecting information on both the Russian and Italian mobs. That investigation may have placed him directly in the Mafia's path. Logan listens carefully to her theory, but he still has questions. Logan admits that something feels unusual. Julio Parenti normally eliminates problems permanently. He is known for killing people instead of kidnapping them. In his eyes, kidnapping only wastes time. During the discussion, Hannah reveals another important detail. She explains that Smith and Petro developed close ties with Parenti. Their relationship began after a terrorist attack in Chicago 1 year earlier. That revelation opens up an entirely new lead in the investigation. As they continue studying the projector footage, Logan notices a familiar face. He identifies the man as Mr. Kong. Hannah immediately asks who he is. Logan remains vague and only describes him as an important client. The group begins analyzing the information. They conclude that Moon Kong is a rising business tycoon. Because of that, Julio Parenti normally would not involve himself in small-scale drug deals. The situation feels suspicious from the start. Logan suggests another possibility. If the information is fake, someone may have impersonated Parenti. According to him, this type of deception is common in the drug trade. Criminals often use famous names to create fear and authority. However, one detail continues bothering him. He wonders why Hannah's intelligence service never considered that possibility. The oversight seems too obvious. As a result, Logan suspects the mistake may have been intentional. Suddenly, another man enters the room. He apologizes for interrupting their discussion. Then he mentions some intelligence reports received earlier that morning. His arrival immediately shifts everyone's attention. The newcomer reveals that Julio Parenti recently lost a shipment. According to the report, a Cambodian criminal organization called Mesa stole the goods. The information catches Hannah's interest instantly. She senses that it could be connected to her brother's disappearance. Curious, Hannah asks about the man's identity. She soon learns that his name is Yansong Yu. After introducing himself, he greets her politely. The atmosphere immediately becomes friendlier. Hannah shakes his hand, and Yansong responds with a warm smile. He reveals that he is of Korean descent. Because of that, he feels an immediate connection with her. He even offers to help her during her stay in Cambodia. Meanwhile, back at the apartment, Tae-jun becomes increasingly anxious. He searches for Hannah everywhere. The longer she remains missing, the more worried he becomes. Eventually, she finally returns. The moment Hannah walks through the door, Tae-jun starts scolding her. He complains about her going out alone. According to him, the area is far too dangerous. His concern appears genuine. The two enter the apartment together. Hannah grabs a bottle of water and drinks it quickly. After finishing, she slams the empty bottle onto the table. The tense atmosphere becomes even heavier. Tae-jun once again offers to accompany her in the future. He claims it would be safer if she did not wander around alone. Hannah listens quietly. Then her expression suddenly changes. Leaning against the table, Hannah admits there are many things she still does not understand. She questions both her brother's case and Tae-jun himself. Despite knowing him for years, she no longer feels certain she can trust him. Her doubts have finally reached their limit. Without warning, Hannah pulls out a gun. She points it directly at Tae-jun. The room instantly falls silent. Hannah calmly tells him to make the right choice. She begins questioning the information he previously provided. According to Hannah, there are too many missing pieces. The surveillance footage especially bothers her. Nothing about it feels complete. Hannah points out strange details from the dashcam video. In the footage, Do-yeon enters the building where the mobsters are located. Later, he is dragged back outside. Then the bomb suddenly explodes. The sequence raises serious questions. If the criminals intended to kill him, why would they show his face so clearly on camera? The entire event looks staged. Hannah becomes more convinced of that possibility. She reveals another shocking detail. The intelligence service officially declared Do-yeon dead based only on that footage. Worse yet, the video is not even the original version. It is merely an edited copy. Hannah keeps the gun aimed at Tae-jun. Her eyes never leave him. She demands an explanation for all these inconsistencies. This time, she refuses to accept vague answers. Tae-jun nervously admits that investigators found a body. However, the corpse was badly damaged by a suicide vest. The condition of the remains made a proper autopsy impossible. That alone creates another problem. According to Tae-jun, they identified the body using Do-yeon's dog tag. That single piece of evidence became the basis for the entire conclusion. Hannah immediately sees the flaw in that logic. Dog tags can be planted. Still pointing the gun at him, Hannah makes a declaration. From this moment on, Tae-jun is officially part of her investigation. He no longer has the option of staying neutral. The rules have changed. She orders him to stop investigating her activities. In return, she promises to pretend that she believes his story. It is not trust, it is simply a temporary arrangement. Hannah then gives him another instruction. He must report to his superiors that she never left Do-yeon's apartment. According to his report, she has been there since yesterday. Tae-jun reluctantly agrees to cooperate. After receiving his answer, Hannah gives a signal. Yan-song immediately steps in. Within seconds, he incapacitates Tae-jun. The operation happens so smoothly that Tae-jun barely reacts. Yan-song comments that the situation feels like a heartbreaking betrayal. Hannah disagrees with him. In her opinion, it is still too early to call it betrayal. The truth has not fully revealed itself yet. Later, Hannah rides through the city on a motorcycle. Yan-song follows alongside her. During the ride, he asks if she plans to leave the area. Hannah explains her next move. She reveals that Logan provided coordinates to a safe house. He also warned her that the Cambodian crime syndicate might target the location. The information immediately raises the stakes. Time is running out. Yan-song understands the importance of the safe house. He advises Hannah to keep a low profile until they receive further instructions. According to him, Julio Parenti will likely make a move soon. The stolen goods give him every reason to act. Hannah refuses to wait around. Instead, she decides to infiltrate the safe house herself. She wants to stay one step ahead of her enemies. The decision perfectly matches her fearless personality. As they continue traveling, Yan-song suddenly changes the subject. He becomes curious about Hannah's personal life. Specifically, he asks whether she is seeing anyone. The unexpected question catches her off guard. Hannah casually confirms that she is in a relationship. Hearing that answer, Yan-song laughs and backs off immediately. He jokingly promises not to interfere. The light-hearted moment briefly eases the tension. Soon they reach their destination. Yan-song wishes her good luck and watches her leave. As Hannah rides away, he quietly reflects on the situation. He cannot help finding everything incredibly interesting. Eventually, Hannah arrives at the Valentine's Day safe house. She slows down and carefully studies her surroundings. The place carries memories of countless operations. Every corner feels familiar. Inside, weapons are neatly arranged and ready for deployment. The entire facility looks prepared for an upcoming mission. Seeing the equipment reminds Hannah of the dangerous world she once left behind. The memories quickly return. Standing alone in the safe house, Hannah thinks about her brother again. She wonders what kind of trouble he became involved in. Despite everything, she still hopes he will leave behind some sign that he is alive. That hope keeps her moving forward. Suddenly, her phone rings. It is Logan checking on her progress. Hannah reassures him that everything appears normal. In fact, the area seems almost too quiet. The eerie silence immediately puts both of them on alert. In a situation like this, quiet rarely means safety. More often, it means something dangerous is about to happen, and Hannah knows it. As Hannah waits at the safe house, a question keeps bothering her. She starts wondering whether Yan-song Yu is really part of Valentine's Day. One detail stands out immediately. He is not wearing the company's distinctive badge. She asks Logan about it directly. Surprisingly, Logan avoids giving a clear answer. Instead, he mentions someone named Lu. The unexpected response only confuses Hannah even more. Caught off guard, Hannah asks who Lu is. She has never heard that name before. Before she can get an answer, her nerves suddenly spike. Someone appears right in front of her. Without hesitation, Hannah reaches for her gun. She immediately points it at the stranger. The man calmly introduces himself as Edward Lu from the United States. His relaxed attitude makes the situation even stranger. Meanwhile, Logan is still on the phone. He reminds Hannah that he already warned her about Lu's presence. Realizing that Logan knows exactly who this man is, Hannah abruptly ends the call. Now she wants answers directly from Lu. Hannah demands an explanation for his sudden appearance. Lu casually jokes that he thought she might be bored. His playful response only irritates her further. She continues pressing him for the truth. Eventually, Lu becomes serious. He reveals that he has personal business in Cambodia. More importantly, he has unfinished business with Mesa. That name immediately grabs Hannah's attention. According to Lu, Mesa is one of the major criminal syndicates operating in Cambodia. The organization controls a powerful drug cartel. Not only did they steal from Julio Parenti, but they are also connected to a murder involving the Sicilian Mafia. Suddenly, everything becomes much bigger. Hannah is still confused about Yan-song's involvement. She wants to know whether Lu will interfere with her mission. Lu quickly reassures her. He insists that he has no intention of becoming a problem. Instead, he suggests following the original plan. Hannah focuses on Julio Parenti. Meanwhile, he handles Mesa. The arrangement sounds reasonable, but Hannah remains cautious. Her suspicion has not completely disappeared. Suddenly, she grabs Lu by his shirt. She bluntly points out that he is not a Valentine's Day agent. Something about him still does not add up. Lu simply laughs. Then he explains that he never claimed to be an agent. According to him, he only offered to help her while she was in Cambodia. His answer technically makes sense, but Hannah is still not fully convinced. Before the conversation can continue, Hannah's phone rings. Logan is calling again. This time, he brings urgent information. The situation is about to escalate. Logan reports that Mesa is already on the move. Based on their intel, they will reach the designated location in about 3 hours. The convoy is massive. It is far larger than Hannah expected. The target consists of 40 heavily armed men. They are traveling with a trailer, 2 shipping containers and 6 trucks. To make matters worse, Julio Parenti is already pursuing them. The collision between both sides seems inevitable. The report leaves Hannah facing a difficult question. Can she handle an operation of this scale? Despite the danger, she does not hesitate. She immediately starts planning her next move. About an hour later, Hannah discusses the operation with Yansong. Together, they analyze the convoy's route. Hannah then reveals her strategy. It is risky but calculated. She plans to sneak into the trailer. Before that, she intends to disable the truck in front by targeting its tires. Yansong asks whether she plans to delay the convoy until Parenti arrives. Hannah immediately rejects that idea. Instead, she explains the operation step by step. First, she will trigger a landmine when Mesa reaches the location. The explosion will create confusion among the convoy. That chaos will become her opening. Second, she plans to infiltrate the trailer during the confusion. Once inside, she will remain hidden. Finally, she will wait for Julio Parenti to arrive. That is when the real operation begins. Hannah also emphasizes that she wants minimal casualties. She is not trying to destroy the entire convoy. She only needs enough chaos to gain access to the trailer. Every move is designed around that objective. After hearing the plan, Yansong tells her to stay safe. Surprisingly, he admits that he has started developing stronger feelings for her than expected. The confession catches Hannah slightly off guard. Even so, they stay focused on the mission. Soon, the operation begins. While monitoring the convoy, Yansong confirms that Julio Parenti is indeed among the pursuers. The countdown starts. Seconds later, they execute the first phase of the plan. The explosion successfully creates confusion. However, they immediately notice movement inside the trailer. Someone is still alive in there. That unexpected development complicates everything. Without wasting time, Hannah starts climbing the trailer. She quickly reaches the top and forces her way inside. The moment she enters, gunfire erupts. The mission instantly turns into a firefight. One of the men nearly overpowers her. Fortunately, Yansong intervenes at the perfect moment. His support prevents the situation from turning disastrous. Hannah quickly thanks him before refocusing on the mission. As they continue monitoring the battlefield, Yansong provides another update. He reports that the secondary target is approaching at high speed. Based on the trajectory, a major collision seems unavoidable. The tension rises once again. While hiding inside the trailer, Hannah overhears a conversation. One man is speaking on the phone. He complains that he never wanted Parenti's merchandise. He even expresses regret about entering the contract in the first place. Just as Hannah listens more closely, everything suddenly goes wrong. A violent collision shakes the trailer. The impact throws her off balance instantly. The entire vehicle rattles from the force. Yansong repeatedly calls her name through the earpiece. He is worried that she might be injured. For several moments, Hannah cannot respond. The hit leaves her completely disoriented. Eventually, she slowly opens her eyes. Her hands tremble as she removes the damaged earpiece. Then she raises her firearm and prepares for whatever comes next. She knows danger is already nearby. A man suddenly approaches the trailer door. Hannah immediately aims her weapon at him. She warns him to stay back. Instead of obeying, the stranger calmly walks closer. To Hannah's shock, the man grabs the gun and presses it against his own forehead. He dares her to pull the trigger. According to him, he has been waiting for death for a very long time. The bizarre behavior completely catches her off guard. Then, without warning, he attacks. A brutal strike lands before Hannah can react. The blow knocks her unconscious almost instantly. The mission falls apart in seconds. The mysterious man lifts her onto his shoulder. His intentions are clearly sinister. He decides to take Hannah with him. Before leaving, he remarks that they will determine whether she has any value to them. In the next scene, Hannah suddenly regains consciousness. She quickly realizes that her hands are tightly bound. Panic immediately sets in, and she starts struggling against the restraints. Every second makes the situation feel worse. The man who captured her notices the movement. He casually comments on her impressive reflexes. Hannah looks up and freezes for a moment. To her surprise, the man standing before her is Julio Parenti himself. Julio studies her carefully. Then he asks who she is and whether she was waiting for him inside the trailer. Hannah confirms that she was. However, instead of answering his next question directly, she says something completely unexpected. Hannah suggests that he should remove his clothes. She explains that she cannot leave the bathroom looking as messy as she currently does. The strange response catches Julio off guard. The atmosphere instantly becomes awkward. Annoyed, Julio grabs her chin. He demands to know whether she is trying to flirt with him. He also questions whether she seriously expects to leave this place alive. His patience is clearly running thin. Hannah remains completely calm. She tells him that he may need her help sooner than he realizes. The confidence in her voice surprises him. Even while tied up, she refuses to show fear. Julio responds by shoving his fingers into her mouth. He warns her that if she enjoys this kind of situation, she should get used to it. Then he leans even closer, invading her personal space. The tension in the room continues rising. Suddenly, another man storms into the room. He immediately asks Julio what he is doing. More importantly, he wants to know why Hannah is still alive. The interruption breaks the uncomfortable moment. Julio tries explaining the situation. He claims that Hannah openly admitted she came to kill him. However, he also complains that she keeps acting strangely. The explanation only confuses the newcomer even more. The man reacts with disbelief, but the moment he notices Julio's expression, he quickly changes his attitude. Meanwhile, Hannah understands very little of the conversation since most of it is happening in Italian. Still, she senses an opportunity. While the two men argue, Hannah secretly starts cutting the rope around her wrists. She carefully works without attracting attention. The distraction gives her exactly the opening she needs. Slowly but surely, her hands become free. Eventually, the other man decides to handle the problem himself. He pulls out a gun and approaches Hannah. He clearly intends to finish the job. Unfortunately for him, he badly underestimates her. The moment he gets close enough, Hannah attacks. She quickly disarms him and steals the weapon. Within seconds, she gains complete control of the situation. The tables turn instantly. Hannah points the gun at the man. At the same time, she wraps the rope around his neck. Then she warns Julio not to take another step. Her mission has finally brought her face to face with her target. Julio raises his hands in surrender. He asks what she wants from him. Hannah wastes no time revealing her true objective. She is not here to kill him. Instead, Hannah explains that she needs his help. Specifically, she wants to find the person impersonating him. As she tightens the rope, the hostage cries out in pain. Julio quickly realizes he has little room to negotiate. Seeing no better option, Julio agrees to listen. He asks exactly what she expects from him. Hannah remains firm and focused in exchange for his cooperation. She promises to bring the imposter to justice. Meanwhile, the police arrive at the scene of the convoy collision. Officers begin inspecting the area. One of them approaches Yansong and asks what should be done with the bodies. The aftermath of the operation is now unfolding. Yansong quietly slips some money to the officer. Then he tells him to handle the bodies however he sees fit. He describes the dead men as nothing more than criminals. The arrangement seems to satisfy the officer immediately. Yansong also points out that the police can claim full credit for the arrests. According to the report, Parenti and his men escaped with both the weapons crate and the trailer carrying cocaine. The official story is already taking shape. With that matter settled, Yansong moves on to his final task. He kneels beside one of the dead men. Then he begins wiping the contents of the man's phone. Whatever information is stored there must disappear. As he works, an unexpected visitor arrives. Taijun suddenly appears at the scene. Yansong immediately recognizes him. The reunion is far from friendly. Yansong casually remarks that he has not seen Taijun since Hannah beat him up. Then he calmly pulls out a gun. The atmosphere changes instantly. Taijun realizes he is now the one being interrogated. Yansong asks why he never mentioned that Hannah and Duyun are twins. Taijun appears confused by the question. He explains that he never considered it important information. Unfortunately, that answer is not good enough. Yansong cocks the weapon and points it directly at him. Then he explains what he really wants. He needs more information about Hannah Lee. Every detail suddenly matters. Trying to defend himself, Taijun shares what he knows. He explains that Hannah currently lives as an ordinary civilian. He also reveals that Duyun is her only remaining family member. That fact explains everything. According to Taijun, Hannah came all the way to Cambodia because she cannot abandon her brother. Losing him is simply not an option. The explanation makes perfect sense. Even Yansong seems to understand her motivation. However, Yansong reminds him that deciding what happens next is his choice. He keeps the gun trained on Taijun. Then he offers a warning. If Taijun wants to stay alive, he needs to become more useful. Eventually, Yansong lowers the weapon and starts walking away. Just before he leaves, Taijun asks one final question. He wants to know if Yansong is interested in Hannah. The question catches him by surprise. Yansong pauses for a moment. Then he admits that Sergeant Hannah is a very attractive woman. That admission speaks volumes. It also hints that his feelings may be affecting his decisions. He casually adds that he is considering adjusting his plans. The statement leaves Taijun with plenty to think about. Meanwhile, events continue unfolding elsewhere. Hannah still has her own problems to deal with. Back at Julio Parenti's location, the discussion continues. Julio once again questions Hannah's plan to catch the imposter. In his opinion, the opportunity may already be gone. His next revelation immediately changes the situation. Julio explains that the surviving Mesa members never escaped. According to his information, they were eliminated by a sniper shortly after the convoy attack. If that is true, then an important lead may have vanished forever. The investigation suddenly becomes much more complicated. Hannah becomes frustrated after hearing Julio's explanation. She admits that she never got the chance to interrogate the Mesa members herself. That missed opportunity could have provided valuable answers. Now those leads may be gone forever. She quickly explains her reasoning. According to Hannah, her brother was investigating the imposter long before he disappeared. If she and Julio work together, they may be able to uncover the person controlling everything from the shadows. The proposal immediately grabs Julio's attention. Hannah then reveals another important detail. A rumor has been spreading that Julio ordered the assassination of a Korean intelligence agent. Coincidentally, that agent is her brother. The connection makes the situation impossible to ignore. The revelation catches Julio off guard. He asks whether that means her brother is already dead. Hannah immediately rejects the idea. She firmly insists that Do-yeon is still alive. That belief is exactly why she tracked Julio down. Before moving forward, she needed to know whether he was responsible for her brother's disappearance. Deep down, Hannah understands something important. She cannot succeed without earning Julio's trust. Perhaps sensing her sincerity, Julio makes an unexpected gesture. He calmly unbuttons his shirt and hands it to her. The act serves as a sign of goodwill. It is the first time he openly lowers his guard around her. Julio then orders one of his men, Romano, to bring Hannah a glass of wine. In return, he asks her to release Lorenzo. The offer seems simple enough. However, Hannah immediately becomes suspicious. She knows these people are criminals. Trust does not come easily in a room full of mobsters. Even though her throat feels painfully dry, she cannot stop wondering whether the drink has been tampered with. The risk is obvious. Still, Hannah decides to take the chance. She kicks Lorenzo aside and grabs the glass from Romano. Then she locks eyes with Julio. Without looking away, she drinks the wine. Almost immediately, her vision begins to blur. A wave of dizziness crashes over her. Her body becomes unstable, and she struggles to stay upright. Moments later, she collapses onto the floor. Surprisingly, Julio never intended to harm her. Beforehand, he had already arranged for a doctor to examine her. Instead of leaving her unconscious, he orders a complete medical checkup. Every aspect of her condition receives attention. Later, Hannah finds herself trapped inside a terrifying nightmare. In the dream, someone swears revenge against her. The threat feels disturbingly real. It shakes her more than she expects. Suddenly she jerks awake. Her breathing is heavy, and sweat covers her body. For several seconds, she struggles to understand where she is. The nightmare lingers in her mind. As her thoughts clear, Hannah notices something unusual. Someone has treated her injuries while she slept. She quickly realizes that she was probably given sleeping pills. The realization explains why she slept so deeply. Hannah curses the nightmare under her breath. It is not just a random dream, it is a painful memory she desperately wishes to forget. Unfortunately, the past refuses to stay buried. The memory takes her back to her days as a Valentine's Day operative. During one mission, her actions led to a man's imprisonment. He spent 7 months behind bars because of her. That decision changed countless lives. While the man remained imprisoned, his enemies found his family. One by one, they brutally murdered every relative he had. The loss completely destroyed him. Naturally, he blamed Hannah for everything before disappearing. The man swore revenge. He promised that one day she would suffer the same pain. At first, Hannah dismissed the threats. She believed they were nothing more than empty words. However, as time passed, doubts slowly crept into her mind. The fear became impossible to ignore. Eventually, she found herself checking on her brother every day. His safety became an obsession. Later, she learned that the man died during a revenge plot of his own. Hearing the news brought her an unexpected feeling. For the first time in her life, she felt relieved by someone's death. The realization disturbed her deeply. That experience shattered part of her humanity. It left behind scars she never fully healed from. Even now, the memory continues haunting her. That is why the nightmare feels so real. Determined not to lose focus, Hannah pushes those thoughts aside. Her brother remains her top priority. She cannot afford distractions. Every decision must bring her closer to finding him. At the moment, however, she faces a more immediate problem. She is starving. Before making any new plans, she needs food. Only then can she think clearly. Hannah climbs out of bed and examines herself. She reflects on everything that has happened so far. She expected Julio Parenti to be dangerous. What she did not expect was how unpredictable he would be. Nothing about Julio follows normal logic. His actions constantly contradict his reputation. Hannah still has no idea why he continues keeping her alive. More importantly, he does not seem interested in accepting her proposal anytime soon. As she leaves her room, she suddenly bumps into Lorenzo. He is the same man she tied up earlier. The awkward encounter catches both of them by surprise. Hannah immediately apologizes. Secretly, she sees this as an opportunity. If she can gain Lorenzo's trust, she might learn more about Julio. Every piece of information matters, so she decides to be friendly. Unfortunately, Lorenzo remains cautious. He orders her to return to her room. Then he warns her not to try anything suspicious. Clearly, he has not forgotten what happened before. Hannah quickly reassures him. She claims that she intends to be the perfect hostage. Then she asks for something much simpler. She just wants food. She explains that she has not eaten all day. Her stomach is practically begging for mercy. At first, Lorenzo refuses. However, the request slowly wears him down. After thinking it over, Lorenzo reluctantly agrees. He admits that their food supplies are running low. Even so, he allows Hannah to follow him. The decision gives her exactly what she wants. As he turns around, Lorenzo discreetly activates a microphone. The device instantly connects to Julio. Without Hannah knowing, Julio can now listen to every word they say. The mob boss is clearly keeping a close eye on her. While they walk, Lorenzo becomes curious. He asks whether she is an assassin. Then he wonders if she might be a North Korean spy. The questions come one after another. Hannah immediately denies both accusations. She explains that she once served in the South Korean Special Forces. However, those days are long behind her now. Her answer surprises Lorenzo. Then, with a small smile, Hannah describes her current situation. She jokingly calls herself a baeksu. In Korean slang, that simply means an unemployed person. The answer leaves Lorenzo completely speechless. Meanwhile, Julio continues listening to Hannah and Lorenzo's conversation through the hidden microphone. As he listens, he casually lights a cigarette. Outside, heavy rain begins pouring from the sky. At the same time, several vehicles arrive at the location. Lorenzo eventually invites Hannah to join him for a meal. The table is covered with an impressive selection of food. Hannah stares at it in genuine surprise. The spread is far beyond what she expected from a group of mobsters. Unable to contain her curiosity, Hannah asks Lorenzo if he used to be a chef. Lorenzo smiles at the question. He explains that cooking is simply a hobby he enjoys. Then he jokingly threatens to take the food away if she does not start eating. The temptation proves too strong. Hannah quickly gives in and starts eating. To her surprise, the food tastes incredible. She openly admits that it is one of the best meals she has had in a long time. At first, she assumed Lorenzo was just another armed gangster. However, his personality continues surprising her. The more they talk, the more complicated he seems. He is nothing like the image she had in mind. Changing the subject, Hannah asks about a person named Se. Earlier, she noticed that the name sounded distinctly Korean. Her curiosity immediately takes over. She wonders whether this person is connected to the Mafia, or perhaps someone close to Julio. Lorenzo appears amused by the question. He explains that Se is simply one of their colleagues. However, he quickly follows up with a warning. According to him, Hannah should never mention that name in front of Julio. He stresses the importance of avoiding the topic. The last thing anyone wants is to upset Julio unnecessarily. The warning only makes Hannah more curious. Clearly, there is more to the story than Lorenzo is willing to reveal. The conversation soon shifts toward her brother. Hannah asks whether Lorenzo knows anything about Do-Yun's whereabouts. Instead of answering directly, Lorenzo asks the same question back. Unfortunately, neither of them has any useful information. Lorenzo then shares his own perspective. He explains that Julio Parenti is not the type of man who keeps hostages. In his experience, Julio prefers simple solutions. Eliminating people is usually far easier than keeping them alive. The statement immediately catches Hannah's attention. If Lorenzo is telling the truth, then Do-Yun's disappearance becomes even more mysterious. The situation simply does not fit Julio's usual behavior. Another piece of the puzzle falls out of place. Hannah then asks whether Julio plans to hunt down the imposter. Lorenzo lets out a tired sigh before answering. According to him, imposters are everywhere in their world. They are almost as common as everyday street criminals. The answer leaves Hannah unsatisfied. Slowly, a troubling possibility begins forming in her mind. Perhaps Julio is not genuinely interested in finding the imposter at all. Maybe his cooperation is nothing more than an act. The more she thinks about it, the more suspicious she becomes. After all, the intelligence service already believes her brother betrayed them. If she wants to clear his name, she needs hard evidence. That means staying close to Julio for now. Leaning back in her chair, Hannah begins analyzing the situation. She wonders what kind of scheme Julio might be planning behind the scenes. Every move he makes feels calculated. Trusting him completely would be a mistake. As they head back, Lorenzo suddenly asks another question. This time, he wonders whether Hannah is affiliated with the FBI. The unexpected question catches her attention. Apparently, her behavior has made quite an impression. Hannah laughs at the assumption. She assures him that she does not mind being asked questions. In fact, she enjoys it. The relaxed response makes Lorenzo regret worrying about offending her. Their casual conversation is suddenly interrupted. Julio unexpectedly appears before them, with a playful expression. He comments that the two seem to have become rather close. He even jokes that they look like they are on a date. Lorenzo immediately rejects the idea. He reminds Julio that Hannah literally tried to kill him not long ago. Then he jokingly adds that she does not match his preference for blonde women. The comment lightens the mood. Not wanting to be left out, Hannah responds as well. She casually points out that Lorenzo is not her type either. The exchange quickly turns into playful banter. For a brief moment, the tension disappears. Julio then notices something else. Hannah is still wearing his shirt. He tells her to change into something different. After all, they are about to attend a funeral. Soon, the group prepares to leave. The rain continues falling as they grab umbrellas and step outside. Their destination is a funeral for a fallen colleague. The atmosphere immediately becomes solemn. Together they arrive at the memorial service. Flowers are placed respectfully before the deceased. One by one, people pay their final respects. The mood grows heavier with every passing moment. As the hearse carries away the coffin, emotions begin spilling out. Some attendees struggle to hold back tears. Others openly mourn their loss. The grief is impossible to ignore. During the ceremony, Hannah quietly recites a prayer in Korean. Julio notices and asks what language she is speaking. Hannah calmly explains its meaning. It is a traditional funeral prayer for the departed. According to Hannah, the prayer wishes peace and happiness for the soul of the deceased. It also asks for freedom from suffering and death. Her explanation leaves the moment feeling even more emotional. Even Julio listens quietly. Eventually, the funeral comes to an end. The rain finally begins to ease. Later, the group gathers together for another meal. The atmosphere becomes calmer than before. While eating, Hannah keeps thinking about her true objective. She knows she must maintain Julio's interest if she wants answers. Losing his attention now would ruin everything. As a result, she carefully steers the conversation. Hannah brings up the topic of trust. She suggests that Julio ask whatever questions he wants. She hopes that honesty will help build some form of cooperation. The gamble is risky but necessary. Julio studies her carefully. Then he leans forward and asks a simple question. He wants to know exactly what she desires from him. The directness catches Hannah off guard. For a moment, Hannah hesitates. The truth is that she has countless desires and questions. There are too many things she wants answers to. Narrowing them down is not easy. Julio notices her hesitation. He tells her to limit her requests to only 3. The challenge forces Hannah to think carefully. Every wish must count. With a playful smile, Hannah first asks whether he truly intends to grant them. Julio replies that it depends entirely on what she asks for. The answer is fair enough. So she finally begins listing her requests. Her first wish is simple. She wants Julio's help finding her brother, Do-Yun. Nothing matters more than that. Every decision she makes leads back to him. Her second request is to find the people responsible for targeting her brother. She wants answers and accountability. Whoever orchestrated everything cannot be allowed to disappear. The determination in her voice is unmistakable. Then comes her third request. To Julio's surprise, Hannah simply asks for her own plate of food. The unexpected answer completely catches him off guard. It is far less dramatic than he anticipated. Julio stares at her for a moment. He even asks whether the earlier meal was not enough. Hannah's appetite apparently surprises him. The conversation takes an unexpectedly humorous turn. After a brief pause, Julio makes a decision. He orders all of the staff to leave immediately. One by one, everyone exits the room. Soon, only Hannah and Julio remain behind. With no one else present, the conversation is about to become far more serious. The game between them has entered a new stage, and neither side intends to back down. The conversation takes a strange turn when Julio Parenti suddenly leans closer to Hannah. His expression carries both amusement and curiosity. He admits that the more he thinks about it, the stranger her existence seems. Despite all his resources, he knows almost nothing about her. Julio reveals that he even assigned one of his best intelligence officers to investigate her. Yet they found almost nothing. Every trail leads nowhere to him. Hannah is practically a ghost. A dangerous smile appears on his face. Julio explains that dealing with reckless and dangerous people is something he excels at. Then he grabs her by the neck. The gesture immediately reminds Hannah just how unpredictable and unstable he truly is. Trying not to show her discomfort, Hannah asks him a question. She wonders what happens to those people after he finally breaks them. Julio's expression darkens instantly. The answer is written all over his face. He explains that people who only pretend to submit rarely meet a pleasant end. Hannah begins to understand how his mind works. His methods revolve around absolute control. That realization only makes him seem more dangerous. Still holding her attention, Julio changes the subject. He informs Hannah that her bag was recovered near the crash site. Inside, they found a video file. The contents of that video raise even more questions. The footage features Gavin Smith. More importantly, it shows Gavin alongside Do-Yun shortly before the explosion. Julio immediately wants answers. He asks Hannah what relationship she has with Smith. The question sends alarm bells ringing in Hannah's head. As she reviews the events mentally, she remembers something important. There was another man following her brother. One detail stood out above everything else. The man walked with a noticeable limp. At the time, Hannah believed he was an informant working for the enemy. Since Do-Yun was carrying the explosive device, the limping man seemed suspicious from the start. Now the truth becomes clearer. The footage confirms that the limping figure is Gavin Smith. That discovery changes everything. Suddenly, Gavin's involvement becomes impossible to ignore. The mystery surrounding Do-yeon deepens even further. Julio continues sharing what he knows. According to him, Gavin Smith was once one of the FBI's most elite agents. His reputation was legendary. However, his history is also filled with chaos and violence. Julio explains that Smith played a major role in conflicts involving the Red Mafia. Those battles threw New York City into turmoil. At one point, Smith even planned to eliminate Julio himself. Then he vanished completely. For years, nobody knew where Smith went. He disappeared from the FBI's radar without a trace. Now he has suddenly resurfaced, and somehow, he is connected to Do-yeon. Hannah keeps pressing for answers. She wants to understand why Gavin became involved with her brother. Unfortunately, Julio remains skeptical. He does not believe coincidences of this scale exist. Julio admits that he trusts almost nobody. His life is filled with enemies on every side. Even loyalty means very little in his world. That is exactly why the situation bothers him. From his perspective, Do-yeon somehow became entangled with a man who once wanted him dead. That fact alone raises countless questions. Julio reminds Hannah that her brother may very well be with Gavin right now. The possibility cannot be ignored. Hannah immediately pushes back against that theory. She insists that Gavin was protecting Do-yeon. In her eyes, the former FBI agent was helping her brother survive. She refuses to believe Gavin is the enemy. Determined to make her point, Hannah grabs a knife from the table. In one swift motion, she drags the blade lightly across Julio's neck. The gesture is dangerous but deliberate. She wants him to understand her resolve. Hannah explains that family means everything to her. Just like Julio, she is willing to do anything to protect the people she loves. Nothing will stop her from finding her brother. That conviction never wavers. She also rejects the accusations against Do-yeon. The rumors claiming he betrayed the intelligence service mean nothing to her. She knows her brother better than anyone. Deep down, she believes he is innocent. Julio barely reacts to the cut. Instead, he redirects the conversation. Once again, he asks who Hannah really is. He wants the truth. According to Julio, trusting her feels impossible. She appeared out of nowhere and inserted herself into his world. Every answer only creates more questions. The mystery surrounding her continues to grow. Realizing she needs to be honest, Hannah finally reveals her identity. She introduces herself as Hannah Lee. She also admits that she works as a mercenary. The confession changes the atmosphere instantly. Then she reveals another important detail. She is connected to an organization called Valentine's Day. The name immediately catches Julio's attention. His interest becomes impossible to hide. Hannah also shares the alias she once used. She knows the name probably means nothing to him. Even so, she chooses to be completely transparent. It is the only way forward. As Julio listens, his fascination with her continues growing. The more he learns, the more intrigued he becomes. Hannah is unlike anyone he has encountered before. That unpredictability draws his attention. Without warning, Julio grabs her hand and pulls her closer. The sudden action catches Hannah off guard. The tension between them spikes immediately. The situation becomes increasingly dangerous. Reacting instantly, Hannah reaches for the knife again. This time she drives the blade into Julio. Rather than panicking, he simply challenges her. His reaction is unsettling. Julio dares her to push the knife deeper. The challenge only highlights how reckless he truly is. Then he admits something troubling. He says he may be developing an unhealthy fascination with her. Hannah immediately shoves him away. She makes her position crystal clear. Despite everything that has happened, she is not here to kill him. Her only goal remains finding her brother. Later, Hannah finds herself wearing handcuffs. Letting out an exhausted sigh, she asks whether Julio plans to remove them. The restraints are becoming increasingly annoying, yet nobody seems eager to free her. Julio calmly replies that he knows she could probably escape them if she wanted. That is exactly why he prefers keeping them on. From his perspective, it is the safest option. Trust still has not been earned. Meanwhile, a doctor continues stitching the wound Hannah inflicted earlier. Even after being stabbed, Julio remains surprisingly composed. His behavior makes him even harder to understand. Nothing about him feels normal. As the treatment continues, Julio leans closer again. He tells Hannah that revealing his future plans would serve no purpose if she escapes. The statement sounds less like a threat and more like a warning. Once again, Hannah realizes she is dealing with a very dangerous man. Hannah cannot help wondering why all of her plans are falling apart. At first, she assumes Julio Parenti is just another ordinary mob boss. Her strategy seems simple enough. She only needs to manipulate him into pursuing revenge and uncovering the truth. Of course, she understands the risks involved. Even so, she believes she can stay in control of the situation. Now, however, that confidence is fading. It becomes painfully clear that she has badly underestimated him. Still searching for answers, Hannah asks about Gavin Smith. She wants to know whether Julio can find him. Julio casually replies that tracking him down is possible if he truly decides to do it. The answer immediately sparks more questions. Hannah then asks the obvious question, why does Gavin Smith want Julio dead? Julio scratches his neck casually before answering. His response catches Hannah completely off guard. According to Julio, the reason is simple. He killed Gavin Smith's younger brother. The confession is delivered so casually that it feels unsettling. For a moment, Hannah struggles to react. However, she quickly reminds herself to stay calm. Julio constantly tests people to see how they respond. Showing too much emotion would only play into his hands, so she forces herself to remain composed. Changing directions, Hannah asks when she will finally be released. Julio's answer is immediate. That day will come only when he decides he can trust her. Until then, nothing changes. Julio bluntly reminds her that she is still his prisoner. In his eyes, she is merely a hostage. Worse yet, he makes it clear that her fate remains entirely in his hands. The warning carries an unmistakable threat. Left alone with her thoughts, Hannah begins planning. She realizes she cannot stay trapped forever. If no opportunities appear, she will have to create one herself. Escape becomes her next objective. Her attention shifts to the guard station nearby. Assuming they are unarmed, she begins calculating possibilities. If she can disable both of them quickly, a window escape might be possible. The plan is risky, but not impossible. Before she can think any further, something cold presses against her head. It is a gun. An ominous voice immediately orders her to stop entertaining escape fantasies. The warning could not be clearer. The guard tells her to return to her room. As long as she behaves, she will be treated respectfully. However, any attempt to flee will have consequences. Hannah realizes she is being watched more closely than she expected. Meanwhile, Julio searches through Hannah's belongings. Eventually, he discovers her driver's license. Seeing her name causes him to pause. He has heard of Hannah Lee before. Julio recalls her reputation as a legendary operative. The first time he saw her, covered in blood and staring at him with wild eyes, he genuinely thought death had arrived. To him, she looked like the Grim Reaper itself. As he reflects on that encounter, a strange realization surfaces. Instead of fear, he remembers feeling oddly liberated. Deep down, part of him may have wanted her to pull the trigger. The thought lingers in his mind. Soon after, Romano enters the office carrying a report. The investigation into Hannah is progressing. Julio listens carefully before giving new instructions. His next move surprises everyone. He orders Romano to obtain Logan Valentine's contact information. When Romano asks why, Julio explains that Hannah once worked for Valentine's Day. That connection could prove useful. Julio then makes another declaration. There are many people he now intends to find, and there are even more people he plans to eliminate. Whatever game is unfolding, he intends to take control of it. Meanwhile, Hannah remains trapped inside the bedroom. She grows increasingly frustrated as the hours pass. Nobody comes to help her. Her situation feels completely hopeless. An entire day goes by. Hannah's patience is wearing thin. On top of that, she desperately needs to use the bathroom. The inconvenience only makes her mood worse. As she sits there thinking, the bedroom door suddenly opens. Julio steps inside wearing his usual smirk. He casually asks how she is doing. The sight of him immediately irritates her. Hannah quickly assures him that she has no plans to run away. Then she gets straight to the point. She demands that he remove the handcuffs because she urgently needs the bathroom. Her frustration is impossible to hide. Julio studies her for a moment. Then he decides to help. Afterward, Hannah finally manages to take care of the problem. The entire situation leaves her deeply annoyed. A short while later, Hannah asks about her clothes. Since Julio helped her earlier, she insists that he should help resolve the rest of the inconvenience as well. The argument only adds to the awkwardness between them. Julio responds with a raised eyebrow. Then he asks whether she washed her hands properly. Since the handcuffs make simple tasks difficult, the question immediately becomes irritating. Hannah can hardly believe this conversation is happening. Instead of arguing further, Julio offers a practical solution. He assists her from behind while helping her wash her hands. The moment feels surprisingly normal considering the circumstances. That only makes it stranger. Hannah cannot stop wondering how things became this absurd. A few days ago, they were enemies. Now they are stuck navigating bizarre situations together. Nothing about it makes sense. Julio then makes another teasing comment. Hannah immediately warns him to stop. She firmly declares that no amount of charm or persuasion will change her priorities. Her life and her mission remain far too important. Julio quickly points out her hypocrisy. After all, she stabbed him during one of their earlier confrontations. Hannah immediately fires back. She reminds him that he was hardly innocent either. To prove her point, she references the injuries he left behind. The argument quickly grows heated. Neither side is willing to back down. The tension between them rises once again. Eventually, Hannah stands up and tries to leave. Before she gets far, Julio suddenly moves. In one swift motion, he throws her back onto the bed. The unexpected action catches her completely off guard. Then Julio reveals that he has a surprise for her. His tone immediately grabs Hannah's attention. She becomes alert the moment she hears it. Something important is happening. A second later, Julio pulls out a phone. The device instantly catches Hannah's eye. Her thoughts race toward one possibility. Maybe it contains information about Do-yeon. Driven by hope, Hannah immediately reaches for it. She tries to snatch the phone from his hand. Unfortunately, Julio is faster. He slips it back into his pocket before she can grab it. Julio calmly advises her to cooperate. If she wants answers, she will need patience. Hannah stares at the pocket containing the phone. Now she must figure out another way to get it. As her mind races through possible strategies, one thing becomes clear. Whatever is on that device could bring her closer to her brother, and that makes it far too important to ignore. Running out of options, Hannah finally changes her approach. She tries to distract Julio and convince him to cooperate. Julio remains completely silent for a moment. Then he suddenly makes a decision. He tells her to get dressed and follow him downstairs. At the same time, he casually tosses the handcuff key in her direction. According to Julio, some important guests have arrived. These visitors may play a major role in determining her future freedom. Before leaving, Hannah desperately asks for one favor. She wants a chance to check her phone. More specifically, she wants to see the message that recently arrived. The possibility that it came from her brother is impossible to ignore. Julio immediately teases her. He reminds her that he already returned the phone. Then he jokingly asks whether she wants him to take it away again. The response leaves Hannah frustrated but unable to argue. As they walk downstairs together, Hannah becomes self-conscious. She worries that their appearance may create misunderstandings. Unfortunately, her concerns prove completely justified. The moment they encounter others, the teasing begins. Several acquaintances immediately notice how close she is to Julio. They start making assumptions about the situation. Hannah quickly explains that she is actually his prisoner. Her explanation only makes the scene more awkward. Julio responds with a smirk. He claims that allowing her to wander freely would put all of his men in danger. Considering Hannah's track record, nobody can really argue with that. The comment earns a few laughs. Soon, Hannah notices Logan among the visitors. Curious, she asks why all of them are gathered there. Logan explains that Julio contacted them the previous day. Apparently, he expressed concern about Hannah's condition. Hannah immediately boasts about how well she handled herself. She proudly mentions stabbing Julio during one of their earlier confrontations. The statement earns everyone's attention. Even Julio seems amused by her confidence, not wanting to waste time. Julio gets straight to the point. He begins asking Logan several direct questions. The most important one concerns Hannah's past identity. He wants confirmation about something he recently discovered. Julio asks whether Hannah Lee once operated under the alias 1. Logan confirms that she did. However, he quickly adds that those days are long over. Hannah is no longer connected to the FBI. After hearing the explanation, Julio reaches a decision. He announces that Valentine's Day will take responsibility for guarding Hannah. The arrangement should keep everyone satisfied. At least, that is what he assumes. Yansong immediately volunteers for the assignment. However, Hannah strongly objects. She grabs Julio's drink right out of his hand. Her reaction makes it clear that she wants no babysitters. Hannah reminds Julio that this entire situation concerns her brother. It is her responsibility and nobody else's. She insists that involving more people will only complicate matters. Unfortunately, Julio remains unconvinced. Trying to reclaim his drink, Julio reaches for the glass. Instead, it slips from their hands and shatters on the floor. The accident instantly draws attention. Everyone falls silent for a moment. The incident only strengthens Julio's argument. He points out that assigning his own men would be dangerous. After all, even hardened mobsters value their lives. Nobody wants to become Hannah's next victim. Turning toward Yansong, Julio asks for his name. After confirming his identity, he formally approves the arrangement. Then he pours him a drink. A sly smile appears on his face as he watches. Without hesitation, Yansong drinks it. Julio carefully observes the reaction. The gesture feels less like hospitality and more like a test. Fortunately, Yansong passes without issue. Later, Hannah finally experiences some relief. The handcuffs are removed from her wrists. On top of that, her belongings are returned. For the first time in a while, she feels somewhat free. Even so, Julio's warning remains fresh in her mind. If she disobeys her assigned guard, the handcuffs will return immediately. The reminder annoys her greatly. She finds Julio increasingly difficult to tolerate. Determined to focus on what matters, Hannah turns her attention to the phone. She eagerly opens the message, hoping for information from Do-yeon. What she finds leaves her completely confused. The image makes no sense at first glance. Instead of a clear clue, the photo appears to show her brother's feet. For a moment, she wonders whether he accidentally photographed the floor. The image looks strange and random, yet something about it feels intentional. Curiosity quickly takes over. Hannah begins sketching parts of the image onto paper. The longer she studies it, the more unusual it becomes. This is definitely not an ordinary floor pattern. While she examines the picture, Yansong enters the room. He glances at the screen and immediately makes an observation. According to him, the image points toward Mun Shipping Company. The statement catches Hannah by surprise. Confused, she asks how he reached that conclusion so quickly. The floor design alone should not reveal anything. Yet Yansong appears completely confident. Clearly, he sees something she missed. Yansong explains that he is not focusing on the floor at all. Instead, he noticed a company logo hidden within the photograph. Once he spotted it, the answer became obvious. The image suddenly takes on a whole new meaning. If the photograph is authentic, then the implications are huge. It suggests that Do-yeon may currently be trapped aboard a ship. For the first time in days, Hannah receives a genuine lead. Hope immediately returns. The company connected to the logo is Mun Shipping. According to Yansong, it is controlled by a powerful businessman named Mu In-kong. The discovery provides a new direction for the investigation. Finally, they have something concrete to pursue. Yansong gently lifts Hannah's chin and studies her expression. He admits that he was not entirely sure she would survive after meeting Julio Parenti. The situation could have ended very differently. Fortunately, she made it through. Hannah asks what he means by that. Yansong then elaborates. According to him, people like Hannah tend to trigger strong reactions within the Mafia. Her personality and reputation make her especially dangerous. To explain further, Yansong begins talking about Julio's past. He reveals that Julio is the eldest son of the Parenti family. Long before becoming a mafia leader, he was connected to a different world. His history is far more complicated than most people realize. Nowadays, Julio primarily operates from his estate in Sicily. Contrary to popular belief, much of his business revolves around legally manufactured medical drugs. The revelation surprises Hannah. Once again, Julio proves to be nothing like the man she expected. Yansong continues explaining Julio's past. According to him, Julio becomes unusually sensitive around women with black hair. The reason traces back to his mother and his deep hatred for the Red Mafia. Those old wounds still affect him today. Yansong reveals another important detail. The Asian woman who married the boss of the Red Mafia was once Julio's lover. The information immediately catches Hannah's attention. Suddenly, several pieces start falling into place. Curious, Hannah asks if the woman's name is Se Jang. Yansong confirms her suspicion. He even points out that Hannah bears a striking resemblance to her. The revelation instantly explains many of Julio's strange reactions. The name triggers a memory. Hannah recalls Lorenzo's warning about never mentioning Se Jang in Julio's presence. She also remembers the subtle threats surrounding that topic. Clearly, it remains a sensitive subject. Yansong then shifts to more urgent matters. He informs Hannah that Julio has received an invitation. The event will take place aboard one of Mun Shipping's luxury yachts. More importantly, Mu In-kong himself is expected to attend. The moment Hannah hears that, she springs into action. She rushes toward the pool area to find Julio. This opportunity is simply too important to ignore. It may finally lead her closer to Do-yeon. Finding Julio, Hannah immediately asks if the invitation is real. Then she begs him to take her along. She explains that she believes her brother is currently tracking Mu In-kong. The yacht may hold the answers she needs. Hannah quickly shares her theory. She believes Mu In-kong's impersonation of Julio is one of the reasons Do-yeon pursued him. There may be other motives involved as well. Either way, she is convinced the connection matters. Unfortunately, Julio dismisses her concerns. He tells her to return to her room. According to him, this is not the type of event she can simply attend. His refusal immediately frustrates her. Desperate, Hannah grabs hold of him. She insists that she knows who has been impersonating him. Then she boldly offers to catch the culprit herself. The declaration is meant to change his mind. Instead, Julio remains unimpressed. He calmly reveals that he already knows who the impersonator is. Then he asks whether she truly believes she knows something he does not. The response catches Hannah completely off guard. Anger immediately takes over. Hannah demands to know why he never told her. She cannot believe he kept such important information hidden. To her, it feels like a deliberate betrayal. The argument escalates quickly. Hannah questions how long he planned to deceive her. She even wonders if this is revenge for stabbing him earlier. Every frustration she has been holding back suddenly comes pouring out. Julio responds in Italian. Hannah immediately grows more irritated. She insists that he speak English instead. Neither side is willing to back down. Julio tells her she is becoming too emotional. That only makes matters worse. Hannah grabs him and warns that if anyone harms her brother, she will seek revenge, and her revenge will begin with the Italian Mafia. She openly blames Julio for dragging Do-yeon into this mess. Her emotions finally boil over. In a burst of frustration, she shoves him directly into the pool. Then she orders him to stay out of her sight. However, Julio reacts instantly. He grabs her arm before she can step away. The next moment, both of them tumble into the water together. The confrontation takes an unexpected turn. Underwater, the tension between them grows even stranger. Hannah begins wondering why Julio keeps behaving this way. Part of her suspects he is projecting feelings connected to his past relationship. The similarities continue bothering her. Then something unexpected happens. Julio notices her becoming unresponsive underwater. Concern immediately flashes across his face. Without hesitation, he pulls her back to the surface. Once Hannah opens her eyes, she notices his reaction. She asks why he looks so upset. Julio bluntly tells her that she crossed a line. His frustration is obvious. Hannah immediately fires back. She suggests that he should probably visit a hospital. In her opinion, he keeps confusing her with someone else. The comment lands harder than she expects. At that moment, Yansong arrives. He calls out Hannah's name and rushes over. Kneeling beside her, he explains that he has been searching everywhere. Apparently, he believed she was simply changing clothes. When Hannah asks if he was worried, Yansong admits that he missed her. Before the conversation can continue, Julio suddenly wraps an arm around her. The gesture immediately changes the atmosphere. Julio asks Hannah a direct question. Does she really want to attend the party? When she eagerly says yes, he finally relents. His answer surprises everyone present. Julio proposes that she attend as his date. Doing so would give her the freedom she needs to investigate. At the same time, it would provide protection. Very few people would dare challenge someone connected to Julio Parenti. Hannah's excitement becomes impossible to hide. She immediately asks if that means he will personally accompany her. Julio confirms it without hesitation. Finally, she gets the opportunity she wanted. Julio then mentions that he is not feeling particularly well. Since he is helping her, he expects assistance in return. The request catches Hannah off guard. She never imagined hearing those words from him. Surprised, Hannah asks if he is actually sick. The idea sounds ridiculous. Out of all people, Julio Parenti seems like the last person who would admit weakness. Yet he appears completely serious. Meanwhile, Yansong watches the interaction unfold. Realizing the situation is no longer in his favor, he quietly leaves. The disappointment on his face is difficult to miss. Still, he says nothing. Before departing, Julio gives Hannah instructions. They will leave tomorrow. She should be prepared. The mission is officially moving forward. Hannah asks where exactly they are going. Julio gives her a look as if the answer should be obvious. After all, she is the one who wanted to attend the party. The yacht remains their destination. Julio then glances at her current appearance. He points out that she cannot attend looking the way she does now. The comment leads directly to their next stop. Shopping is apparently unavoidable. In the following scene, Julio takes Hannah shopping for the event. Hannah quickly begins selecting outfits. She points to a skirt and top combination and declares that she will take them. The process seems simple enough. For Hannah, clothing is not the real concern. Her priority is finding something practical. She needs an outfit capable of concealing weapons while still allowing quick access to them. Fashion comes second. As she continues browsing, Julio appears behind her. He jokingly suggests that she would attract more attention by attending the party with no outfit at all. The remark earns an immediate response. Hannah confidently fires back. She points out that she would probably look great regardless of what she wears. Her confidence leaves no room for doubt. The playful banter continues. She also picks out a pair of heels to complete the outfit. Meanwhile, Julio grows increasingly impatient. He urges her to hurry up. Unfortunately for him, Hannah has no intention of ending her shopping spree. Anytime soon, Julio immediately rejects Hannah's clothing choices. He tells her not to even think about wearing the outfit she just selected. Hannah, completely confident as always, argues that anything she wears automatically looks expensive. The response earns exactly the reaction she expected. A little later, Hannah asks Julio if he wants to grab some coffee. Surprisingly, he agrees. However, he makes it clear that only espresso is acceptable. With that settled, the two head to a nearby cafe. While sitting inside the coffee shop, Julio becomes serious. He tells Hannah that despite all the joking around, he wants a direct answer. He asks what she truly wants from him. The question immediately catches her attention. Hannah notices something unusual. Julio seems to be lowering his guard around her. Realizing this may be her best opportunity, she decides to use it wisely. After all, she still needs his help finding Do-yeon. Julio then points out something he has observed for a while. Hannah never seems afraid of him. Considering his reputation, that behavior makes no sense. Naturally, he wants to know why. Hannah looks at him and asks a question of her own. She wonders whether he even knows what an orphanage is. The unexpected response shifts the mood immediately. Suddenly, the conversation becomes much more personal. Julio asks if her parents died when she was young. Hannah calmly reveals the truth. She explains that she never really had parents at all. The story surprises even him. According to Hannah, she and Do-yeon were born in a motel. The woman who gave birth to them simply abandoned them. She believes the woman could not bring herself to kill them, so she left instead. Since then, the twins have only had each other. Hannah admits that her brother has always been the most important person in her life. No one else ever came close. Everything she does eventually circles back to him. That fact explains her determination. Julio quietly listens before comparing her story to his own family. In his experience, siblings constantly betray one another. He jokes that his relatives spend more time plotting murder than showing affection. The contrast between them is obvious. Suddenly, Julio stands up. He announces that all the preparations have already been completed. The clothes, shoes, accessories, and everything else Hannah needs are waiting back at the villa. The revelation leaves her completely confused. Hannah asks what exactly they have been doing this entire time. Julio simply shrugs. According to him, he never promised to take her shopping. He only asked whether she intended to attend the party looking like a disaster. The realization immediately annoys Hannah. She asks why he spent the entire day following her around. Julio's answer is simple. He found it entertaining. He also admits something else. Watching her enjoy herself was amusing. The comment comes with a familiar smirk. Once again, Hannah finds herself unable to predict him. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Yensong is busy talking on the phone. As he speaks with the caller, he quietly searches through Hannah's belongings. The operation he started has become far more complicated than expected. That fact clearly bothers him. During the conversation, Yensong mentions a colleague's recklessness. Specifically, he references someone using Julio Parenti's name without permission. The issue appears serious. Whatever is happening runs deeper than anyone thought. Yensong eventually ends the call. However, one question continues nagging at him. Did Hannah take the flip phone with her? He remembers seeing her use it while tracking her brother's location. Just as he considers the possibility, Hannah enters the room. She immediately notices him. Her suspicious gaze makes it obvious that she is not fooled. Something feels off. Hannah asks whether he has been patiently waiting for her return. Then she jokingly wonders if he was doing something more sinister. The question lands closer to the truth than Yansong would like. Trying to stay calm, Yansong gently pats her hair. He assures her that he was simply waiting. According to him, nothing suspicious happened. The explanation does little to ease Hannah's doubts. Curious about her day, Yansong asks about her encounter with Julio. More specifically, he wants to know how she feels about the Mafia boss. The question immediately raises Hannah's guard. Instead of answering, she fires back with a question. She asks whether Julio is actually Yansong's target. Maybe that is why he volunteered to become her bodyguard in the first place. The accusation catches him off guard. Yansong quickly tries to downplay the idea. He insists that he is only worried about her safety. According to him, Hannah has a habit of charging headfirst into danger. Someone needs to keep an eye on her. He also reminds her of something else. He still has romantic feelings for her. Because of that, he offers an alliance. In his opinion, she should work with another mercenary instead of trusting criminals. Hannah immediately challenges the argument. She points out that mercenaries are hardly saints. They kill, steal, and betray people just like everyone else. The comparison leaves Yansong momentarily speechless. After recovering, he argues that mercenaries at least do not treat people like possessions. Then he openly criticizes Julio. According to Yansong, Julio is nothing more than a counterfeit leader playing a dangerous game. He predicts that once Julio achieves his goals, Hannah will be discarded without hesitation. The warning sounds sincere, yet Hannah remains unconvinced. Trust has become a rare commodity. Thinking about her brother, Hannah explains her current dilemma. The intelligence service already abandoned Duyun. No rescue effort ever came. That betrayal leaves her with very few people she can rely on. She asks a simple question. If she cannot trust her own government, who exactly should she trust? The question hangs heavily in the air. Neither of them has a good answer. At the same time, something about Yansong continues bothering her. He seems to know far more than he should. The amount of information at his disposal feels unnatural. That realization makes her even more cautious. To test him, Hannah brings up Mu and Kong. She asks whether he knows who he is. Yansong immediately claims that he does. However, there is a catch. He wants something in return. The cryptic response only increases Hannah's suspicions. Whatever Yansong is hiding, it is important. She can feel it. Determined to establish boundaries, Hannah grabs him by the shoulders. Then she gives him a warning. If he keeps digging through her belongings without permission, he is going to regret it. She also makes one thing crystal clear. Despite everything, she still does not trust him. Not completely. Trust must be earned, and Yansong has not earned it yet. Later that evening, Hannah and Julio sit down for dinner. The atmosphere is noticeably different from before. Neither of them seems eager to start a conversation. The silence grows heavier with every passing minute. Both have countless questions and hidden motives, yet neither wants to reveal too much. As a result, the meal becomes an uncomfortable battle of patience. The tension between them lingers throughout the entire dinner. The dinner continues in complete silence until Hannah finally breaks it. She casually asks Julio whether he poisoned the food. Instead of being offended, Julio simply tells her to take a bite and find out for herself. The response perfectly matches his personality. Seeing an opportunity, Yansong asks the question everyone is thinking. He wants to know why they are all gathered here. There has to be a bigger reason behind it. Julio finally decides to explain. According to Julio, their current business in Cambodia is almost finished. Soon they will be moving on to their next destination. The announcement immediately catches Hannah's attention. Something about it feels wrong. Julio reveals that their next stop is Macau. The moment Hannah hears that, she jumps to her feet. She loudly protests and demands an explanation. As far as she is concerned, they are not going anywhere. She asks Julio if he has forgotten why she came to Cambodia in the first place. Her brother is still missing. Leaving now feels completely unacceptable. The frustration in her voice is impossible to miss. Julio calmly tells her to sit down. Then he explains the situation more carefully. A cruise ship recently left Cambodia. Coincidentally, it is heading toward Macau. More importantly, the party Julio was invited to will take place aboard that very ship. Suddenly, everything starts making sense. Hannah realizes she never considered the possibility that her target had already left the country. Julio continues explaining his plans. Once he finishes his business there, he intends to return to Italy. After that, he has no plans to come back. This journey may mark the end of their partnership. The realization hits Hannah harder than expected. Julio casually raises his glass. Then he proposes a toast. The atmosphere grows strangely bittersweet. Later, a car races through the streets before coming to a stop. Hannah steps out and heads toward a nearby building. Before she leaves, Yansong asks if she will be okay on her own. His concern seems genuine. Hannah assures him that everything will be fine. She does not expect the visit to take long. However, she gives him specific instructions. If she does not return within 10 minutes, he should come looking for her. She gives Lorenzo the same instructions. Then she heads inside alone. Before leaving Cambodia, she wants answers. There is still one loose end she needs to tie up. As she walks, Hannah reviews everything that has happened so far. The fact that Do-Yun managed to disappear so completely bothers her. He could not have done it alone. Someone must have been helping him. The more she thinks about it, the more convinced she becomes. Do-Yun was probably working undercover with another person. Together, they may have been investigating Julio Parenti and Mu-In Kong. The theory fits too many details to ignore. That brings her to her current destination. There is one person she still needs to question, and that person is Tai-Jun. The truth has been hiding behind his lies for far too long. Hannah quietly enters his house. She catches him moments after finishing a phone call. The sudden appearance completely startles him. His reaction immediately raises her suspicions. Tai-Jun asks how long she has been standing there. Instead of answering, Hannah asks whether he is planning to run away. The question instantly puts him on edge. The tension in the room spikes. Panicking, Tai-Jun reaches for his gun. Unfortunately for him, Hannah already took it. She casually reveals the weapon in her possession. The move leaves him speechless. Hannah asks why he is acting so nervous, in her opinion. He looks exactly like someone hiding something. She points out that if anyone should feel guilty, it should be her. After all, she betrayed him years ago. Tai-Jun immediately shakes his head. He insists that he does not blame her. Back then, she believed her brother was still alive. Under those circumstances, he understands her actions. He tries calming the situation. He tells Hannah to lower the weapon so they can talk properly. Unfortunately, she has no interest in listening. Her patience has completely run out. Hannah accuses him of lying to her from the very beginning. She reveals what she recently learned. According to her, Do-Yun never had any connection to Julio Parenti at all. The entire story falls apart. The claim catches Tai-Jun off guard. He immediately asks how she knows that. Hannah does not hesitate. She finally reveals the name she uncovered. The real imposter is Mu-In Kong. The CEO of Mun Shipping Company has been pulling the strings all along. The revelation changes everything. Suddenly, all the pieces begin fitting together. Hannah tells Tai-Jun that this is his last chance. Whatever answer he gives next will determine everything. Then she steps closer and presses the gun against his head. The threat is unmistakable. She accuses him directly. In her eyes, he is the one who betrayed Do-Yun. No more excuses. No more lies. Tai-Jun nervously scratches his neck. Even now, he insists that Do-Yun betrayed them first. According to him, Hannah is completely wrong. The denial only makes her angrier. Hannah immediately notices the gesture. She points out that he always scratches his neck when he lies. It is a habit she remembers well. That observation leaves him with nowhere to hide. Finally, Hannah lowers the weapon slightly. Then she gives him a warning. If he chooses to run, he should do it now. The next time they meet, things will be very different. She promises that her next shot will not be a warning. Next time she will aim to kill. The message could not be clearer. Tai-Jun understands exactly what she means at that exact moment. Neighbors rush toward the apartment. They heard the gunshot and want to know what happened. The sudden commotion creates the perfect distraction. Tai-Jun immediately takes advantage of it. While the neighbors interfere, Tai-Jun escapes. Hannah watches him run. For now, she lets him go, but she has no intention of forgetting. Outside, Yansong and Lorenzo are growing increasingly worried. Hannah has been gone far longer than expected. Both men start wondering if something terrible happened. Eventually, they rush inside. When they finally reach her, they find Hannah sitting calmly on the floor. The situation is far from what they expected. Looking at them, she casually remarks that they are late. The comment perfectly captures her attitude. Meanwhile, Julio is busy on a phone call. The person on the other end has been investigating Mu-in Kong. Unfortunately, the results are unusual. Almost no information exists. According to the caller, every trace of Mu-in seems carefully hidden. Even blurry photographs are difficult to obtain. Someone is working very hard to keep his identity secret. The secrecy itself becomes suspicious. The caller also discovers another interesting detail. Mu-in was never supposed to inherit control of the company. A few years ago, his half-brother Mo Kong suddenly stepped aside. Only then did Mu-in rise to power. The conversation then shifts toward Hannah. The caller jokingly comments that Julio seems to have acquired an unusual companion. Apparently, Hannah's reputation precedes her. Even Julio's associates know exactly who she is. The caller reminds Julio that Hannah once put their friend Cyril in the hospital for an entire month. She also nearly slit Carlos's throat. Her history is filled with violent encounters. Clearly, she is not someone to underestimate. Despite the warnings, Julio remains unconcerned. He calmly explains that he and Hannah currently share the same objective. At least for now, they are working together. That is all that matters. As the caller continues talking, Julio loses interest. Without warning, he ends the call. Whatever happens next, he prefers handling it personally. And with Macau waiting ahead, the real game is only beginning. Just then, Lorenzo rushes Hannah back to the villa. He loudly calls for a doctor the moment they arrive. Hannah insists that her injury is only a scratch. Even so, nobody seems willing to take chances. As she sits there, Hannah reflects on everything that happened. Deep down, she always suspected something was wrong. However, she could not leave Cambodia without confirming the truth herself. Now the evidence is impossible to ignore. Hannah admits that she wanted to give Taijun the benefit of the doubt. She hoped there was another explanation. But the moment he ran away, those hopes disappeared. His actions speak louder than any excuse. A short while later, Julio enters carrying a first aid kit. He quietly shuts the door behind him. Then he reminds Hannah that she claimed she only needed an hour because she had somewhere important to go. Looking at her condition, he seems less than impressed. Julio asks whether returning covered in blood was part of her plan. The sarcastic remark earns an annoyed look from Hannah. Nevertheless, he immediately begins treating her wounds. His actions contradict his words once again. He takes out antibiotics and carefully disinfects the injuries. Then he informs her that he will apply a local anesthetic. The treatment is surprisingly thorough. Julio clearly has no intention of cutting corners. While tending to her injuries, he makes another comment. He says he does not like seeing her covered in traces of other people. More specifically, he dislikes seeing her return from dangerous situations injured. The statement catches Hannah's attention. Julio goes even further. He admits he would be especially unhappy if she came back covered in the blood of dead men. The concern sounds strangely genuine. Hannah finds herself studying him more carefully. As the treatment continues, Hannah begins thinking. Now that Taijun's betrayal is confirmed, her options are shrinking rapidly. Whether she likes it or not, Julio may be the only useful ally she has left. That realization is difficult to accept. Despite constantly causing trouble for her, Julio also seems unwilling to see her harmed. The contradiction makes him difficult to understand. Yet at this point she can no longer ignore it. His actions keep proving it. A moment later, Hannah nearly loses her balance when a chair shifts unexpectedly. Instinctively, she reaches out for support. Julio catches her before she falls. The unexpected moment leaves both of them briefly frozen. For a few seconds, neither says anything. The atmosphere grows noticeably heavier. Hannah cannot stop thinking about the complicated position she now finds herself in. Julio may be her best chance at finding Du-yun. At the same time, she questions whether relying on him is a mistake. Is he a lifeline leading her toward the truth? Or is he a damaged rope pulling her toward disaster? The answer remains unclear. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the city, Taijun is in full panic mode. He rushes through his apartment gathering everything he can carry. Clothes, documents, and supplies disappear into a bag. He is clearly preparing to flee. As he packs, one question keeps bothering him. How did someone breach his security system so easily? The system was supposed to be nearly impossible to bypass, yet somebody got inside without triggering a single alarm. Then he hears approaching footsteps. Immediately, he reaches for a hidden firearm. His nerves are completely shot. Every sound now feels like a threat. A voice suddenly warns him not to run. According to the stranger, fleeing will only make things worse. The warning sends a chill through Taijun. Slowly, he turns around. To his shock, the person standing there is Julio Parenti. The sight leaves him speechless. Of all the people he expected to see, Julio is not one of them. Julio calmly draws a pistol and points it directly at him. Then he brings up the rumors. According to those rumors, Taijun has been impersonating him. The accusation immediately puts him on the defensive. Taijun denies everything. He insists that Julio has the wrong person. However, Julio is not interested in listening. As far as he is concerned, too much evidence points in Taijun's direction. Sweat begins rolling down Taijun's face. Desperately, he claims that he knows who the real culprit is. If Julio gives him a chance, he can explain everything. Unfortunately for him, Julio is in no mood for explanations. Without warning, Julio fires a shot. The bullet strikes near Taijun's leg as a warning. The message is clear. Julio's patience is running dangerously low. Back at the villa, Hannah finally wakes up. The anesthetic has worn off, and she slowly opens her eyes. The first thing she notices is Yansong sitting beside her bed. His presence immediately annoys her. Hannah demands to know why he keeps appearing unannounced. Yansong calmly explains that he was worried about her condition. He wanted to make sure she was comfortable once the medication wore off. A gentle smile appears on his face. He reminds Hannah that protecting her is literally his job now. As her bodyguard, her safety remains his responsibility. The explanation does little to ease her irritation. Yansong carefully examines her injury. He asks if that is where she was hurt. Hannah confirms it and casually mentions that Julio already treated the wound. She even admits that he did a surprisingly good job. Yansong nods in agreement. Apparently Julio handled everything so well that a doctor was unnecessary. The observation briefly surprises Hannah. It is yet another unexpected skill in Julio's collection. The conversation slows when Hannah mentions being thirsty. A brief silence follows. For a few seconds they simply look at each other. The atmosphere becomes slightly awkward. Finally, Yansong asks a question. He wonders whether Julio might have feelings for her. The unexpected topic catches Hannah completely off guard. She immediately asks him to repeat himself. Instead of answering directly, Yansong hands her some water. Then he changes the subject. According to him, Logan called while she was asleep. The update immediately grabs Hannah's attention. Logan's message concerns Mu in Kong. Valentine's Day has agreed to provide security for him during the upcoming party. The revelation instantly connects several pieces of information. Hannah remembers Logan mentioning Mu in before. Yansong continues explaining. At the party, Hannah only needs to look for a man named Oslo. If she finds Oslo, Mu and Kong should be standing nearby. The clue may finally lead her to her brother. The scene then shifts to Macau. Preparations for the party are already underway. Everyone is getting ready for what could become a major turning point in the investigation. Hannah sits in front of a mirror while preparing for the event. The upcoming mission weighs heavily on her mind. Every lead now points toward the party. The stakes could not be higher. Moments later, Julio enters the room. He approaches from behind and looks at her reflection in the mirror. Neither of them says anything at first. The silence only adds to the anticipation surrounding what awaits them in Macau. Back in Macau, Hannah sits in front of a mirror making her final preparations for the party. The atmosphere is tense. She knows this event may finally lead her to the answers she has been searching for. Every clue seems to point here. A moment later, Julio enters the room. He approaches from behind and greets her in his usual confident manner. Hannah immediately frowns and accuses him of pushing boundaries again. Julio simply acts innocent and asks what exactly he did wrong. Without waiting for an answer, he asks if she is ready. Hannah responds that of course she is. Then she raises another concern. She still thinks sharing a room with him is a terrible idea. Julio quickly explains the situation. Since she is pretending to be his partner, appearances matter, people at the party will be watching closely. If their story falls apart, so will their entire plan. Hannah pushes his hand away and asks him to help zip up her dress. Julio does exactly that. However, Hannah immediately reminds him that they have more important things to focus on. There is a mission waiting for them. Julio admits that attending the party is not exactly his idea of fun. Still, if they are going, he wants everyone paying attention to Hannah. According to him, attracting attention is part of the strategy. Every move is calculated. Hannah asks whether all of this is truly necessary. Julio assures her that it is. Then he shares an important observation. In games like this, the person who believes they have the upper hand is usually the first one to make a mistake. The statement immediately catches Hannah's attention. She asks if he means Mu in Kong will approach them first. Julio smiles and confirms her suspicion. That is exactly what he expects to happen. As Hannah processes the information, she notices something else. Julio has become much more relaxed around her lately. The cautious distance that once existed between them is slowly disappearing. It is a change she cannot ignore. Part of her wonders whether she should take advantage of it. If Julio continues lowering his guard, it could benefit her investigation. The possibility remains tempting. For now, she keeps the thought to herself. Their conversation is interrupted by a knock at the door. Hannah looks surprised. Julio, however, immediately knows what it is. According to him, her equipment has finally arrived. He accepts the package and hands it to her. The moment Hannah opens the box, she becomes impressed. The contents are exactly what she needs. Everything inside is designed for covert operations. Among the equipment is a bracelet containing sedatives. There is also a necklace with a hidden explosive device. Even the hairpins are modified into concealed weapons. The collection is both practical and dangerous. Hannah quickly tests the equipment. After trying everything on, she asks Julio for his opinion. He admits that everything suits her perfectly. The answer earns a satisfied smile. While preparing, Hannah asks about the cruise ship they are supposed to board. Earlier, she noticed a vessel docked nearby. She assumed that was their destination. Apparently, she was mistaken. Julio explains that the ship currently at the harbor is only for display. The real event begins with a pre-party tonight. The actual cruise will depart later. That means tonight serves as the opening move. Once everything is ready, Julio extends his hand. Like a proper gentleman, he offers to help her up. With preparations complete, it is finally time to leave. The mission is officially underway. As they arrive at the venue, Hannah is stunned by the scale of the event. Fireworks illuminate the sky while crowds fill every corner. The celebration is far larger than she expected. The wealth on display is impossible to miss. Standing among the guests, Hannah feels a rush of determination. Somewhere in this operation lies the trail leading to her brother. Whether he is on this vessel or tomorrow's cruise, she knows she is closer than ever. While walking through the crowd, Hannah comments on the size of the gathering. She also notices people constantly staring at them. The attention makes it difficult to act naturally. Every eye seems focused on their arrival. Julio casually tells her there is a simple reason for that. According to him, she looks stunning tonight. Hannah immediately denies being affected by his compliments. Unfortunately, Julio is not convinced. He points out that her ears and cheeks are noticeably red. The observation only embarrasses her further. Before she can argue back, a familiar voice suddenly calls out Julio's name. The interruption immediately captures their attention. The woman approaching them carries herself with confidence and elegance. The moment Hannah sees her, she recognizes exactly who she is. Standing before them is Se Jiang. She is the wife of the infamous Red Mafia leader. More importantly, she is Julio Parenti's former lover. Her appearance instantly changes the atmosphere. Hannah quickly studies the people around her. If Se Jiang is here, then the man standing beside her can only be Yuri Petrov. As a high-ranking member of the Red Mafia and CFO of Petro Corporation, his presence is no less significant. Se greets Julio politely before turning her attention to Hannah. To Hannah's surprise, the woman already seems familiar with her. The interaction immediately puts her on guard. Then Se casually addresses her by a name from her past. The moment Hannah hears it, alarm bells begin ringing in her head. She cannot understand how this woman knows who she is. As the introductions continue, Hannah realizes the party has become far more dangerous than she expected. Powerful figures from every side are gathered in one place, and somehow, they already know far more about her than they should. Hannah's suspicions immediately grow stronger. As the evening continues, Julio casually pulls her closer to his side. Leaning toward him, she quietly asks whether his behavior is simply an attempt to impress his former lover. Julio responds with a faint smirk and asks if that is really how it appears. While the conversation continues, Hannah notices a familiar face in the crowd. Her eyes lock onto Cyril Kusin. The sight catches her completely off guard. It has been years since she last saw him. The last time they crossed paths, Hannah put him in the hospital. In all the excitement of the evening, she almost forgets that Cyril now serves as Yuri Petrov's trusted right-hand man. Meanwhile, Se Jiang studies Hannah carefully. She asks if Hannah is Korean and compliments her appearance. The friendly tone feels genuine, yet Hannah cannot shake the feeling that there is something more behind it. Soon after, Julio and Yuri excuse themselves. Apparently, they have private matters to discuss. Before leaving, Julio tells Hannah to stay exactly where she is. Although she dislikes taking orders, she reluctantly agrees. At the same time, Yuri assigns Cyril to remain by Se's side. With the two powerful men gone, the atmosphere shifts. The women are left alone together. Hannah immediately begins observing everything around her. Her attention soon turns toward Yansong. She notices he is nowhere nearby. Curious, she asks about his whereabouts. Se explains that he has been helping with a security sweep of the vessel. Then Se suddenly steps closer. Her expression becomes noticeably more serious. She suggests moving indoors where the air conditioning is better, and where they are less exposed. According to Se, remaining outside is dangerous. The surrounding buildings create perfect positions for snipers. Given the number of powerful people attending the event, such precautions are hardly unreasonable. The observation immediately puts Hannah on alert. However, Se's next statement is even more surprising. She calmly reveals that Mu and Kong will not be attending tonight's gathering. The information catches Hannah completely off guard. Startled, Hannah immediately asks for clarification. If Muin is not coming, then what exactly is happening? Se simply warns her not to trust anyone blindly. No matter what people claim, appearances can be deceiving. Then Se reveals another unexpected secret. She admits that she personally designed the bracelet Hannah is wearing. The confession surprises Hannah more than anything else she has heard tonight. C explains that the bracelet contains sedatives, however, it also hides an emergency capsule. By turning the blue diamond 90 degrees, Hannah can activate a stimulant and antidote concealed inside. More importantly, C admits that Julio knows nothing about this feature. She deliberately kept it secret. Now she is choosing to share that information with Hannah alone. The gesture immediately earns Hannah's attention. The more they speak, the more fascinated Hannah becomes. There is something strangely captivating about Sei. Suddenly, Hannah begins understanding why Julio once fell for her. When Hannah asks why she is sharing all this information, C gives a cryptic answer. She claims that Hannah reminds her of herself. Looking at Hannah feels like looking into the past. This statement carries an unexpected weight. C then urges Hannah to trust her instincts. According to her, the Mu-In-Kong who appears tonight may not be the real one. The warning instantly raises countless questions. Naturally, Hannah asks where the real Mu-In-Kong is. C suggests that he may be watching from somewhere nearby. In fact, she believes he could be orchestrating the entire event from the shadows. There is even a possibility that he plans to sacrifice a stand-in. The idea sounds outrageous, yet given everything Hannah has uncovered so far, it no longer feels impossible. Before Hannah can ask another question, both women sense something unusual. The atmosphere suddenly changes. Someone dangerous is nearby. Almost immediately, Hannah realizes who it might be. Gavin Smith. The possibility sends her instincts into overdrive. Without wasting time, Hannah tells C to sit down and request additional security. Then she contacts Yansong. Her orders are precise and immediate. She instructs him to move to the opposite side of the venue. His job is to block potential escape routes. Every second matters now. To keep him occupied, Hannah provides a misleading description of the target. It is a calculated move. She needs time to investigate on her own, before anyone else interferes. One important detail stands out. Every waiter at the event is wearing a black bow tie. If Gavin is disguised among the staff, identifying him will not be easy. Hannah knows she must move quickly. Determined to find answers, she begins pursuing Gavin through the crowd. For a brief moment she catches sight of him. Then, just as suddenly, he disappears. It is as if he vanishes into thin air. Hannah scans the area frantically. Something feels very wrong. Then disaster strikes. An unknown attacker suddenly appears and lands a powerful blow. The attack comes completely out of nowhere. As Hannah struggles to react, the mysterious assailant speaks. He declares that she can never understand how long he has waited for this moment. The chilling statement sends a shiver down her spine. The party instantly transforms from a social gathering into a battlefield. Hannah realizes she has walked straight into another trap, and with Gavin Smith, Mu-In-Kong, and countless hidden enemies all connected to the same mystery, the situation is only becoming more dangerous. Startled by the sudden attack, Hannah quickly asks Kuzmena if he has forgotten that today is supposed to be a day of truce, but Kuzmena's eyes are filled with hatred. He coldly makes his intentions clear. His only goal is to kill her. With ruthless determination, Kuzmena slams Hannah against the wall. His grip tightens around her neck as he tries to make her suffer the same pain he once endured. Hannah struggles desperately for air, yet even while choking, she reminds herself that what goes around comes around. Dizziness begins taking over. Hannah fights to break free, but her strength is fading. Then a memory suddenly flashes through her mind. She remembers Julio promising to help her find her missing brother. That memory gives her a final burst of determination. Hannah refuses to let this be the end. Gathering every bit of strength she has left, she strikes Kuzmena and forces him backward. The opening is all she needs. Hannah quickly retrieves a concealed dagger. She attacks before Kuzmena can recover. After a fierce struggle, she manages to overpower him. The immediate threat is finally dealt with. Even after the fight, Hannah's thoughts return to Julio. She wonders what she should do next. Should she continue searching for Gavin Smith, or should she focus on the possibility that Julio is already searching for her? Before she can decide, something catches her attention. Hannah spots a familiar figure in the crowd. It is Oslo. She immediately begins forming a new plan. Hannah walks toward him and deliberately creates a distraction. She bumps into a passing waiter, causing several drinks to spill across her dress. The accident looks completely natural, but Hannah knows exactly what she is doing. The man standing beside Oslo immediately offers her a handkerchief. Hannah accepts the gesture. As Oslo looks at her more closely, recognition suddenly appears in his eyes. He clearly knows who she is. The man beside him then asks if Hannah is Korean. He introduces himself as the owner of the ship. Hannah immediately sees an opportunity. She decides to play along. She lightly touches his chest and suggests that their meeting must be fate. Then she explains that a stranger suddenly approached her with unwanted advances. Hannah asks if he can give her somewhere safe to stay for a while. The man is surprised by her request. Still, he becomes intrigued by her story. After hearing her explanation, he agrees to help. He leads her away from the crowded party. As they move through the venue, he reassures Hannah that she is not causing any trouble. In fact, he admits that he was already getting bored with the party. He mentions a private room on the second floor. The offer sounds convenient, however, Hannah remains cautious. She remembers SE's warning about the possibility of a decoy. This man may not be the real Mew and Kong at all. Still, he could have important connections to the real mastermind. Meanwhile, Gavin Smith watches Hannah leave with the supposed Mew and Kong. His attention remains fixed on them. Whatever happens next clearly interests him. The mystery continues getting deeper. Elsewhere, 3 men are gathered inside another private room. One of them asks their boss for instructions. The boss gives them a simple order. They must create profiles for every waiter working on the ship. As for Hannah, they decide to keep watching her. Nobody wants to interfere just yet. Her actions are clearly revealing more information than expected. The situation is becoming increasingly interesting. Hannah quietly follows the man toward the private room. Before entering, Oslo leans closer and warns her. He tells her that the room may not be safe. His concern is obvious. Hannah refuses to back down. She confidently insists that she knows exactly what she is doing. Despite Oslo's warning, she continues inside. Her determination remains stronger than her doubts. Once inside, the man calmly opens a bottle of wine. He places 2 crystal glasses on the table. He also offers Hannah a robe to cover the stain on her dress. Everything appears polite and harmless, but Hannah is not fooled. Her eyes immediately scan the room. She soon spots a surveillance camera hidden overhead. The discovery confirms her suspicions. If there is a camera, there may also be a listening device nearby. Hannah carefully keeps that possibility in mind. She knows every word she says could be monitored, so she chooses her questions carefully. The man encourages her to relax. He explains that helping a fellow Korean is the least he can do. Hannah uses the opportunity to steer the conversation toward the ship itself. Specifically, she asks about its ownership. After some careful questioning, she finally gets the man to reveal his name. He reluctantly identifies himself as Mu In Kong. The name immediately catches Hannah's attention, yet she still refuses to believe the story at face value. Hannah then creates another fake story. She claims that her sister came to the ship to meet her lover. According to her story, that lover is supposedly Mu In Kong. She even jokes that her sister may have fallen for a womanizer. Hannah adds that she has always found bad boys attractive. While keeping up the act, she casually moves closer to him. At the same time, she performs a discreet pat-down. The search confirms what she suspected. The man is not carrying a weapon. That makes her next move much easier. Hannah suddenly grabs him by the collar. With a swift motion, she throws him down. The friendly act disappears instantly. Hannah demands his real identity and warns him not to lie to her. She then points out another important detail. The guards outside are not actually there to protect him. They are there to monitor him. That means someone else is controlling the situation from behind the scenes. Hannah presses him for the truth. She wants to know where the real mastermind is hiding. The man immediately becomes nervous. His answers start falling apart. He stammers that he knows nothing. Hannah clearly does not believe him. The pressure finally forces him to reveal another piece of information. According to the man, everything started with a mysterious phone call. The call came from a Cambodian number. Whoever contacted him clearly had a larger plan in mind. Hannah listens carefully. Another lead has finally appeared, but the identity of the caller remains a mystery, and now she intends to uncover exactly who was behind that call. Hannah immediately orders the supposed Mu In Kong to call the Cambodian number. She is convinced that the real Mu In Kong is watching everything from somewhere nearby. Her bold actions may finally force him out of hiding, so she decides to push even harder. Without warning, Hannah fires her gun. The sudden shot sends the guards rushing into the room. Oslo is startled by the noise and immediately asks what happened. Hannah quickly silences him with a gesture. Her attention remains fixed on the mysterious caller. As the conversation continues, Hannah notices something important. The voice on the other end is being altered with a voice modulator. Whoever is behind the call clearly does not want to reveal their identity. Hannah ignores everything else. Her only concern is finding Do-yeon. She demands to know where her missing brother is. Her warning is simple. If the caller refuses to cooperate, the same fate awaits the man currently lying on the floor. Suddenly, a gunshot rings out. The man Hannah was questioning is killed instantly. The call continues for only a moment longer. The mysterious voice finally gives her an answer. He admits that he does not have Hannah's brother. However, he claims that Do-yeon is somewhere nearby. Before ending the call, he warns Hannah that the party is coming to an end. Then he tells her not to panic and promises that they will meet again. The call disconnects. Hannah immediately starts connecting the pieces. If the party is ending now, something terrible must be happening. Her thoughts quickly turn toward Julio. Meanwhile, Julio is somewhere else on the ship. He orders his men to find Hannah and bring her to him. His patience is disappearing fast. The urgency in his voice makes the situation even more dangerous. Back with Hannah, Oslo gently grabs her hand. He asks her to slow down. Hannah immediately pulls her hand away. She has no time for hesitation. She asks who Mu In Kong is planning to kill. Oslo tries explaining that Mu In is watching them. Because of that, they need to maintain their cover. The conversation must continue as if nothing is wrong. Oslo attempts to change the subject. Hannah refuses to let him. She asks the question again, making it clear that this is his final chance to answer honestly. The pressure finally works. Reluctantly, Oslo reveals the target. It is Julio Parenti. Hannah is stunned by the revelation. She immediately wonders why the person impersonating Julio would now want to kill him. Before they can discuss it further, a sniper's laser suddenly appears. The red dot locks directly onto Oslo. Hannah reacts instantly. She pulls him out of the line of fire just in time. The near miss confirms her worst fears. Mu-in is not only targeting Julio. Anyone close to Hannah could become a target as well. She warns Oslo to focus on surviving first. Hannah then makes another decision. Mu-in Kong is no longer considered a Valentine's Day client. She is done following that arrangement. Her priorities have completely changed. Oslo asks what she plans to do next. Hannah gives him a clear answer. She intends to rescue Julio Parenti. After all, Julio promised to help her find Do-Yun. Before leaving, Hannah prepares herself for the fight. She tears her dress shorter so she can move more freely. Every second matters now. The ship is becoming increasingly dangerous. Just as she is about to leave, Julio suddenly appears. Hannah immediately orders Oslo to lead the way before more agents become involved. Then she tells Julio to leave as well. According to her, Mu-in Kong is targeting him. Julio looks at Hannah and asks where she is going. She explains that she plans to find Mu-in. Then she notices the blood covering Julio's clothes. Her expression immediately changes. The two decide to enter a private room and continue the conversation. Hannah asks whether Julio is badly injured. Julio responds by asking whether she really thinks all the blood belongs to him. He explains that he has just fought several attackers. The blood is mostly from them. Then Julio suddenly pulls Hannah into a tight embrace. He is visibly relieved that she is unharmed. Julio admits that his vision blurred for a moment when he saw a bullet flying toward them. He genuinely thought Hannah might have been hit. The relief on his face makes his concern impossible to hide. Then Julio gives her some unexpected information. According to him, Do-Yun is not on the ship. More importantly, he believes Hannah's brother managed to escape safely. For Hannah, that is the best news she has heard all night. Julio tries to pour them both a drink. At the same time, he makes a phone call and orders his men to eliminate any remaining threats. He also gives instructions for his arrival at the hotel. Everything seems to be under control. Then something goes wrong. Julio suddenly becomes dizzy. He looks at Hannah and questions the drink. His balance begins failing rapidly. Hannah calmly explains that she does not drink while working. That answer immediately makes Julio suspicious. Moments later, he starts staggering around the room. Despite his condition, Julio suddenly raises his gun. He fires multiple shots at the man believed to be Mu-in Kong. Hannah watches in shock. She cannot understand what is happening. At the same time, she starts wondering what was actually in Julio's drink. The effects are clearly not normal. Before she can figure it out, Lorenzo storms into the room. Lorenzo urgently tells them to leave the ship. The FBI is already swarming the area. Staying any longer would be extremely dangerous. Hannah immediately understands the situation. Later, they reach Yuri Petrov's hotel. Hannah and Lorenzo help Julio move through the building. He is still clearly affected by whatever he drank. His condition remains unstable. Hannah explains that Julio becomes extremely agitated whenever someone other than them touches him. Lorenzo looks at her and asks if she still has not gotten used to his behavior. The comment earns no response. Soon, Yuri approaches them. He reassures everyone that the hotel is secure. Nobody can enter without permission. For the moment, they finally have somewhere safe to recover. Yuri immediately examines Julio. He asks whether Julio was drugged or somehow knocked himself unconscious. Hannah looks completely exhausted. She admits that she does not have the energy to explain everything right now. Instead, she hands Yuri a phone. The device is connected to Mu-in Kong. Hannah admits that she does not know how to unlock it. However, she believes Yuri has the skills to handle it. She gives him a simple task. He needs to install a location tracker on the phone and return it to her. More importantly, she wants the data duplicated. If the phone contains any clues about Mu-in or Do-Yun, they cannot afford to lose them. Hannah sternly reminds Yuri that she is the source of this valuable information. Her tone makes it clear that she expects him to follow her instructions. Yuri understands the message immediately. As they continue walking, Yuri suggests that Hannah use the items C provided. He then reveals something important about the drink Julio consumed. The wine contained a new stimulant mixed with an unidentified aphrodisiac. According to Yuri, the antidote capsule may cause Julio to experience a brief shock. However, he should regain his senses soon afterward. Hannah listens carefully to the explanation. Then she asks what would happen if they simply left Julio in his current condition. Yuri warns that doing so could create even more problems. Hannah understands the risk. She carefully helps Julio toward the bed. Once he is settled, she turns her attention to Lorenzo. Hannah tells Lorenzo that he can leave. He questions whether leaving her alone is really necessary. She quickly points out the injury on his upper right abdomen. Then she orders him to go before the situation gets worse. Lorenzo offers to send someone back to help her. Hannah immediately refuses. She does not want anyone else getting hurt because of Julio. She insists that she can handle the situation herself. Before leaving, Lorenzo gives Hannah a few useful tips. Then he finally exits the room. Hannah is left alone with Julio. Now she has to figure out how to bring him back to his senses. She turns toward the bed, but Julio is no longer there. The discovery immediately puts Hannah on alert. Then she hears the sound of running water. Hannah follows the noise and enters the bathroom. She finds Julio standing under the shower, completely soaked while still fully dressed. She asks whether he has finally regained control of himself. Julio responds by telling her to leave or find another room. The two exchange a few sarcastic remarks. Despite the situation, their usual banter returns. Then Julio suddenly doubles over from another wave of pain. Hannah immediately tells him to control himself. She helps him back to his feet. Together, they leave the bathroom. Hannah begins guiding him toward the bed, but before she can finish, Julio suddenly pulls her closer. He tilts her head and kisses her. Water drips from his soaked clothes onto the floor. For a moment, they simply stare at each other. The kiss then becomes more intense. Julio reaches into Hannah's hair and removes one of her sharp hairpins. Without warning, he presses the pin into his own body. Hannah immediately panics and asks what he is doing. Julio keeps warning her to leave. He explains that he is struggling to control himself. If she stays, he fears he may completely lose control. Hannah glares at him, clearly frustrated by his reckless behavior. She warns that his actions could get her hurt. Even so, she refuses to abandon him. Instead, she tells him to simply hold her. The two eventually return to the bed. As the situation settles, Hannah begins having second thoughts. She wonders whether she should simply give Julio the antidote. It might shock his system, but it could also end the dangerous effects of the drug. She hesitates. Before she can decide, Julio grabs her neck. He apologizes and tells her that if she is already regretting what is happening, then it may be too late. His words are mixed with his usual teasing attitude. Hannah remains uncertain about what to do next. Meanwhile, somewhere else, Gavin Smith returns to his hideout. He is wearing a completely different outfit. His partner immediately notices the change. After all, Gavin was dressed as a waiter at the party. Gavin explains that the staff were being questioned one by one. Because of that, he had to change his appearance and escape as a delivery worker. His partner assures him that the disguise is convincing enough. Nobody should recognize him, even after checking the staff records. Then the truth is revealed. Gavin's partner is none other than Hannah's missing brother, Do-Yun. The revelation confirms that Do-Yun is alive and working with Gavin. Hannah's search has finally uncovered a major secret. Gavin tells Do-Yun about the party. He says he saw many familiar faces there, but one person in particular catches his attention. He believes Do-Yun knows someone among the guests. Gavin then reveals what he saw. Hannah was with Julio Parenti. From a distance, they appeared extremely close. To Gavin, it almost looked like the two were deeply in love. The next morning, Julio finally wakes up. He gently touches Hannah's face, causing her to wake as well. Hannah immediately notices what he is doing. She asks if he is checking whether she is still alive. Julio quickly looks away. His reaction confirms her suspicion. Hannah continues teasing him. She asks whether he was also wondering if he had crossed a line the previous night. With a sly smile, Hannah explains that the previous night was simply an exchange between two people satisfying their own needs. Deep down, however, she is thinking about something else. The more Julio becomes attached to her, the easier it may become to achieve her goals. Julio picks up on her words. He suggests that she may want the same thing he does. Hannah laughs at his attempt to turn the situation around. Then she turns away. She makes her boundaries clear. She is not interested in anything more right now. Hannah warns Julio not to touch her for the next 2 days. Julio simply laughs and agrees to the condition. Before moving on, he plants a quick kiss on her. Hannah remains unimpressed. The two then prepare to meet Yuri. Later, they meet with Yuri Petrov. He addresses Hannah by her alias and informs her that the investigation into Muin Kong's phone is complete. Then he slides the device across the table. The results are extremely important. Yuri reveals that the most recent call from the phone was made from inside the ship they were on the previous day. That means the real Muin Kong was actually present at the party. The man they encountered was only a stand-in. This discovery changes the situation completely. The real mastermind was nearby the entire time. Hannah's instincts were correct. She was never dealing with a simple impersonation. Yuri then asks whether Hannah managed to obtain any useful information during her call with Muin. Hannah explains what she learned. Muin claimed that Do-Yun was not with him. Hannah admits that she cannot be completely certain he was telling the truth. However, based on everything they now know, the possibility that he was being honest seems fairly high. At least for now, the evidence suggests that Do-Yun is somewhere else. Hannah continues explaining her theory. With Gavin Smith already on the move, it is clear that things are not going smoothly for him. That makes the situation even more suspicious. Every new clue seems connected to a much larger plan. Yuri then asks Hannah about Logan. He wonders whether she can get any useful information from him. According to Yuri, Mu Kong may actually be one of Logan's clients. Hannah has a much closer relationship with Logan, so she may have better luck. Hannah admits that she wants to help. Unfortunately, Logan takes client confidentiality extremely seriously. No matter how close they are, he refuses to reveal information that could compromise his clients. Before they can continue, C suddenly interrupts. She hands Hannah a photograph. According to her, it shows the real Mu Kong. She also explains that she enhanced the image as much as possible. C asks Hannah if she recognizes the man. Hannah studies the photograph carefully. At first, she struggles to make out the face. Then something suddenly catches her attention. The man looks remarkably similar to Yansong. The realization immediately makes Hannah suspicious. She also notices that Yansong has been missing all morning. That timing feels far too convenient. Hannah starts connecting more details. Romano and Lorenzo are both injured, yet Yansong is nowhere to be found. The more she thinks about it, the more uncomfortable the situation becomes. Giulio notices her expression. He leans closer and jokingly asks why she is so interested in another man's photograph. He even teases her about already getting tired of him. Hannah's attention quickly returns to him. Giulio then reveals that he has received an update. The man who betrayed Hannah has recently become the target of an assassination attempt. The news immediately surprises her. She wonders who would want Tai-jun dead. Giulio hints that only one person could be behind such an attack. Without wasting time, he makes a call. His goal is simple. He wants to know where Mu Kong is right now. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a large crowd gathers around a man surrounded by cameras. The man is introduced as Mo Kong, Mu Kong's half-brother. He is preparing to address the public. The situation appears extremely serious. During the broadcast, Mo Kong claims that foreign criminals have targeted an innocent citizen. He then mourns the death of Du-Yun Lee, a member of the Overseas Narcotics Investigation Team. According to him, Du-Yun died in a terrorist bombing. Mok Kong also reveals another victim. Tai-jun Choi is currently in a coma and fighting for his life. The announcement adds another layer to the tragedy. But Mok Kong is not finished. He then reveals that there is one more victim. This time, it is his own half-brother, Mu Kong. Mok Kong claims that after hosting a party, Mu was brutally murdered. His body was then thrown into the sea. The news spreads rapidly. Mok Kong appears devastated as he publicly mourns his brother. Then he reveals a long-hidden family secret. Mu Kong was actually his half-brother. According to Mo Kong, the two were separated during childhood. Despite years of distance, they eventually reconnected as adults. Now he is forced to mourn him in front of the entire country. Meanwhile, the real Mu Kong watches the emergency broadcast from a restaurant. He remains completely calm. Then someone unexpected approaches him. It is Logan Valentine. Logan immediately delivers serious news. He intends to terminate their contract. The reason is simple. Muin's actions have targeted Valentine's Day agents. That directly violates the rules of their agreement. Muin strongly denies having anything to do with the attack. He insists that he never ordered anyone to harm Logan's agents. When Logan asks who could be responsible, Muin offers another possibility. He suggests that the FBI may have staged the entire incident. Then he turns his attention back to the news broadcast. A faint smile appears on his face. The situation seems to be unfolding exactly as he expected. Mu-in points out how Mo Kong's political maneuvering has captured the public's attention. Soon, people will demand immediate justice against those responsible. Among the names likely to be blamed is Julio Parenti. Then Mu-in turns toward Logan. He asks a simple but dangerous question. Who benefits the most from all this chaos? The question immediately makes Logan suspicious. Logan begins thinking about everything that has happened. The possibility suddenly becomes clear. Perhaps the entire situation is unfolding exactly according to Muin's plan. If so, staying close to him could be extremely dangerous. Logan decides that keeping his distance is the safest choice. He prepares to leave. He intends to completely cut ties with Mun Shipping Company, but before he can finish, Muin stops him. Instead of arguing, Muin makes an offer. He proposes paying Logan 5 times his previous compensation. The massive increase immediately catches Logan's attention. He slowly stops and turns back. Logan asks what Muin wants in return. Muin answers calmly. The task is surprisingly simple. Logan must protect Hannah Lee. He makes the conditions very clear. Hannah must remain safe. Not even a single hair on her head can be harmed. The request leaves Logan wondering why Hannah is suddenly so important to him. After the meeting, Muin returns to his residence. The man who has been hiding behind multiple identities is finally alone. He steps into the shower and lets the warm water run over him. As he stands there, Muin begins thinking about Hannah. Her actions throughout the entire operation continue to occupy his mind. Whatever connection exists between them, it is clearly far more complicated than it first appeared. Muin continues thinking about the recent party. From his perspective, Hannah's behavior looked like an obvious act. He cannot tell whether her feelings for Julio Parenti were genuine or simply part of her plan. Either way, he remains suspicious. In his mind, Muen dismisses Julio as nothing more than a dilettante. Then, after what seems like an absurdly long shower, he finally steps out. But the moment he returns to the room, he discovers an unexpected guest. Giulio Parenti is already sitting there. The two men stare at each other in complete silence. Neither one is willing to look away. The tension between them becomes almost unbearable. Eventually, Yansong breaks the silence. He casually suggests that Julio may have entered the wrong room. Julio says nothing at first. Instead, he calmly lights a cigarette. Then he delivers a shocking statement. Yansong is fired. The sudden announcement earns a smirk from Yansong. He immediately wonders why Julio is so eager to get rid of him. Yansong suggests that Julio may be worried about him taking Hannah away. The comment instantly changes the atmosphere. Both men clearly dislike each other. Their argument quickly turns physical. They grab each other's collars. Neither man backs down. Julio warns Yansong to keep his mouth shut. But Yansong continues provoking him. Julio finally loses his patience. He forcefully throws Yansong to the ground. He raises his fist, ready to strike. But before he can land the punch, Hannah suddenly bursts into the room. She immediately asks what is going on. Then she orders Julio to lower his fist. Julio actually listens. He releases Yansong and steps back. Hannah demands an explanation. Julio calmly reveals that he has fired Yansong as her bodyguard. The announcement surprises Hannah, but privately she knows she cannot allow that to happen. If Yansong really is the mysterious Muen Kong, keeping him nearby is too important. She needs to watch him closely. Dismissing him now could mean losing her best chance at discovering the truth. Yansong slowly gets back on his feet. He reminds Hannah of his earlier warning. She needs to stay away from Julio Parenti. Her brother should remain her only priority. Then Yansong brings up the photograph Hannah showed him earlier. According to him, they missed an important detail. Dooyeon was trying to send Hannah a message through that image. The revelation immediately catches her attention. Hannah asks if he has discovered something new. Yansong confirms that he has. However, he points out that Julio just fired him. Therefore, he no longer feels obligated to share anything. Yansong then extends his hand toward Hannah. He makes one final offer. She can join forces with him, and he will help her find Dooyeon. He even jokes that this is not the right time for her to get involved romantically with a mobster. Hannah is immediately annoyed. She asks whether he expects her to beg for his help. She insists that she is fully capable of finding her brother on her own. Then she turns around and walks away. Julio quickly follows her. Hannah enters another room and shuts the door behind her. Alone with her thoughts, she begins reconsidering Yansong's words. From the very beginning, her plan has been simple. She intends to use Julio to find her brother. That objective has never changed. Yet lately, her own feelings have started making things complicated. Deep down, Hannah keeps hoping their relationship could become something more. She knows she should not think that way. Getting emotionally involved with a mafia boss could destroy everything. Still, she cannot completely ignore the possibility. Julio knocks on the door. Hannah immediately tells him not to come inside. He continues asking her to let him in. She refuses. Just as Hannah reaches toward the door, her phone suddenly rings. Her entire expression changes. There is only one person she hopes it could be. Hannah answers the call. It is Dooyeon. Her brother immediately asks if she is okay. Then he urgently tells her to leave. Dooyeon cannot understand why she is staying in a place like this. He reminds her that Julio Parenti is deeply involved with the mafia. Hannah admits that she already knows. Despite that, she has made her choice. According to Hannah, staying with Julio is currently her best chance of finding Dooyeon. She refuses to abandon the plan. Her brother remains worried about her safety. Hannah finally opens the door and allows Julio inside. She stays on the phone with Dooyeon. Her brother continues warning her about the danger of dealing with a mafia boss. Hannah ignores the warning and asks where he is. Dooyeon refuses to provide too many details. He explains that the call could be monitored, so Hannah asks him for coordinates instead. Dooyeon eventually sends them. Hannah immediately tells him to stay where he is. She promises that she will find him. She also makes it clear that anyone who harmed him will pay. The emotional weight finally catches up with Dooyeon. He tells Hannah that he misses her. Then he begs her not to put herself in danger. Hannah gently reassures him and asks him to wait a little longer. While Hannah remains focused on the call, Julio quietly approaches from behind. He gently takes her hand. Then he tells her that he intends to accompany her. Hannah is surprised by the offer. She asks why he would come along when this mission is about finding her brother. As far as she can see, Julio has nothing to gain from it. Yet his answer is unexpectedly personal. Julio explains that Dooyeon is important to Hannah. He dislikes how much attention her brother takes from him. Still, he is willing to help her find him. For Julio, helping Hannah has become reason enough. The conversation then takes a serious turn. Hannah admits that there is something she needs to tell Julio. She begins describing her time as a Valentine's Day agent. She reveals that one of the men she helped put behind bars eventually lost his entire family. His enemies hunted them down while he remained imprisoned. The memory still weighs heavily on Hannah. While in prison, the man had promised Hannah that she would experience the same pain he suffered. He vowed to take away everything she cared about. At first, Hannah never took his threats seriously, but after Do-yeon disappeared, she started having nightmares about him again. Hannah explains that the man is already dead. Even so, his words still haunt her. She feels like the hatred she created may eventually return to destroy her. That fear is why she struggles to let people into her life. As Hannah explains this, tears begin filling her eyes. Julio gently wipes them away. He then gives her a reassuring kiss and tries to calm her down. For once, the dangerous mafia boss shows a softer side. Julio then decides to share his own story. He takes a deep breath and begins talking about his family. His mother had raven black hair and fair skin, but she became involved in an affair. Julio's father loved her enough to forgive her betrayal. His younger brother Flavio, however, could not accept what happened. Tragically, Flavio eventually encounters his mother's lover. The meeting ends with Flavio being brutally murdered. Julio's entire world collapses when he discovers his brother's lifeless body inside a chapel. Grief quickly turns into rage. He becomes consumed by the need for revenge. Nothing can stop him. Julio eventually finds the man responsible. He brutally kills him and dismembers the body. Then he sends the remains to his own mother. But his revenge does not end there. Julio admits that he also killed his mother. According to him, he made her death even more painful than Flavio's. The confession reveals just how far his hatred once went. There was no mercy left in him. Julio looks at Hannah and admits that this is the kind of man he is. He commits terrible acts without remorse. Even his own family cannot escape his anger. Then he asks whether Hannah hates him after hearing everything. Instead of answering directly, Hannah brings up their first meeting. She remembers seeing Julio inside the trailer. Back then, he looked like a man who was almost welcoming death, yet she never hated him. Hannah tells him that she does not fear him either. Instead, she understands him more clearly now. His past does not excuse his actions, but it explains where some of his darkness comes from. The confession brings them even closer. The moment ends with a passionate kiss. But deep down, Hannah knows their happiness cannot last forever. Any sense of security she feels is temporary. Once she finds Do-yeon, she will have to leave. She gives herself only 2 days. For now, however, their brief moments together are enough. She chooses to focus on the present. Everything else can wait. Meanwhile, at Do-yeon's hideout, Gavin Smith is becoming increasingly concerned. He admits that the situation has completely spiraled out of control. He still cannot believe Hannah is involved with Julio Parenti. Do-yeon immediately defends his sister. He explains that things are not what they appear to be. Hannah only approached Julio because Tae-jun gave her false information. She never intended to become involved with the mafia boss. Do-yeon also reveals that he has already sent Hannah his location. He wants to settle everything face to face. Gavin listens carefully. The conversation makes him realize just how deeply Do-yeon cares about his sister. Gavin remembers how they first met. Their paths crossed at the bombing site in Cambodia. After a lot of persuasion, Do-yeon eventually agreed to work with him. What began as a difficult partnership soon became something much bigger. Then they received shocking news. Moo In-kong had invited all the criminals he had previously impersonated to a lavish boat party. Nobody expected what happened next. The gathering quickly turned into complete chaos. Many powerful criminals died that night. Gavin still cannot believe how far things went. He never expected to pick up a gun to protect someone like Julio Parenti. Yet circumstances forced him into that position. While Gavin is lost in thought, his phone suddenly rings. The caller delivers another serious warning. A new complication has appeared. Gavin is immediately told to open a link that was just sent to him. Gavin and Do-yeon open the link together. The screen shows Mo Kong's emergency broadcast. The announcement claims that Moo In-kong is dead. The news immediately raises their suspicions. The caller quickly explains that the story is fake. However, the false report has already influenced public opinion, and that is only the beginning. Things are about to become much worse. The caller reveals that Do-yeon Lee is now wanted for drug trafficking and attempted murder. The FBI and CIA have issued warrants for his arrest. His identity is no longer safe. The authorities are actively hunting him. Then comes another dangerous revelation. Someone has discovered that Gavin is working with Do-yeon. That person is M. Sergey, and he is already tracking them. The caller tells Gavin to run immediately. Gavin wastes no time. He grabs his belongings and rushes toward the car. Before leaving, he tells Do-yeon to pack his things as well. Do-yeon reminds him that Hannah is already on her way to the hideout. Gavin immediately tells him to call her. He even offers Do-yeon the phone he once used during his undercover operation in New York. Gavin had sworn never to turn that phone on again after betraying Julio Parenti. But now, there is no other choice. The two men quickly leave the hideout. Gavin starts the car and prepares to move. He also plans to contact Julio. Their situation has become too dangerous to handle alone. Meanwhile, Mu-in Kong and Logan Valentine are traveling together in a car. Logan turns toward Mu-in and asks about the recent clash with Julio Parenti. The question immediately shifts the atmosphere inside the vehicle. Yansong explains that his attempt to get closer to Hannah clearly did not sit well with Julio. Deep down, he admits that getting fired may actually be the safer outcome. Taking matters into his own hands would have exposed him to far greater risks. For now, being dismissed is the better option. Suddenly, Logan receives a notification. The FBI is on the move. He immediately tells Yansong that they should leave the area, but then Yansong notices another vehicle nearby. Gavin Smith is inside that car. Logan quickly recognizes the other passenger as Du-Yun. The discovery instantly changes everything. Yansong orders his driver to follow them and not let the car escape. With a mischievous smile, Yansong makes his intention clear. He plans to capture Hannah's brother alive, then he pulls out his gun. Without hesitation, he starts firing at Gavin's car. Meanwhile, Julio is speaking urgently with Yuri Petrov. He delivers some alarming news. The FBI has started mobilizing, and Gavin Smith is the source of the warning. Gavin has advised them to evacuate Hong Kong immediately. Yuri confirms the information. He suggests finishing their current business and meeting at Repulse Bay within 15 minutes, but Julio reveals that leaving immediately is impossible. There is still one major problem. Yuri quickly understands what he means. The problem is Hannah. He suggests using the drugs available to Julio to make her unconscious. Julio should not mention being out of supplies or discuss possible side effects. Yuri then explains what is hidden inside Hannah's bracelet. Besides the stimulant, it contains a tiny amount of propofol. The drug is designed for medical use and should not cause lasting side effects. Now Julio has two choices. He can take Hannah with him while she is unconscious, or he can stay where he is and risk getting captured by the FBI. The decision is obvious. The call ends. One of Julio's men immediately asks what they should do. Julio orders him to organize an evacuation for the entire team. He plans to join them later. He also gives the man another instruction. He needs a syringe. The request makes it clear that Julio has already decided on a more discreet plan. Hannah is about to become the center of it. Meanwhile, Yansong continues chasing Gavin's vehicle. Bullets keep tearing through the road around them. Gavin and Du-Yun struggle to understand who is attacking them. They wonder if Sergei has already caught up, but neither man can identify their attacker. With no other option, they decide to leave the main road. Hopefully, the narrow route will give them a chance to escape. Unfortunately, the pursuing vehicle refuses to back off. Yansong keeps firing. The distance between the cars rapidly disappears. Then everything happens at once. The two vehicles collide. Gavin's car crashes directly into a roadside guardrail. The vehicle comes to a violent stop. Dust and debris fill the air. As the dust settles, Yansong steps out. He approaches the wreckage and looks inside. Both Gavin and Du-Yun appear unconscious. Yansong believes he has finally achieved his goal. At the same time, Hannah is preparing to find her brother. She urgently tells Julio that they need to move. She has already decoded the coordinates. Du-Yun should be near Stanley Bay. Julio looks at Hannah for a moment. Then he suddenly kisses her. Hannah tries reminding him that they do not have time for this. Julio ignores the warning. Instead, he quietly reaches for something. A syringe appears in his hand. Before Hannah can react, Julio injects her in the neck. Hannah immediately knocks the syringe away. She demands to know what he is doing. But the drug starts taking effect almost instantly. Her body becomes heavy. Hannah struggles to stay conscious. She hears Julio apologizing as her vision fades. Moments later, she collapses directly into his arms. Julio catches her before she hits the ground. Back at the crash site, Yansong opens the damaged vehicle. Du-Yun slowly regains consciousness. His eyes focus on the stranger standing over him. Naturally, he immediately asks who he is. Yansong points a gun directly at Du-Yun's chin. Then he makes a strange comment about his special relationship with Hannah. The statement confuses Du-Yun. He immediately asks how Yansong knows his sister. Yansong calmly responds that there is far more he knows than Du-Yun realizes. Then he thanks Du-Yun for the photograph he sent earlier. He admits that the hidden message was cleverly concealed. Yansong explains the clue. Red oak is an unusual material for shipbuilding because it does not handle water well. By sending a photograph of the floor, Du-Yun was actually trying to tell Hannah that he was aboard an anchored ship. Unfortunately, Hannah failed to understand the message. Du-Yun curses under his breath when he realizes what happened. The situation has become even more complicated. He asks Yansong what he wants. The stress finally overwhelms him, and he begins losing consciousness again, but Yansong refuses to let that happen. He calmly tells Du-Yun that he cannot afford to pass out yet. They have not even started their conversation. The warning is enough to keep Du-Yun barely conscious. Then Gavin suddenly coughs. His eyes slowly open. The moment he sees the man standing over Do-yeon, his expression changes. Gavin recognizes him. He is almost certain that the man in front of them is the real Moon-Kong. The biggest mystery surrounding the entire case may finally have a face. Gavin immediately confronts Moon-Kong, but Moon acts surprised and asks whether they have met before. Gavin, clearly irritated, questions his nerve for following them all the way to this remote location. Moon simply points his gun at him and mocks his attitude. He reminds Gavin that his life is already hanging in the balance. Then he pulls the trigger. A single gunshot echoes through the area. Logan immediately rushes over and warns Moon that he has gone too far. Moon casually dismisses the incident. He claims he was only trying to scare them. Logan quickly checks the situation and recognizes Do-yeon inside the vehicle. Before he can finish explaining, a gun is suddenly pointed at his head. Moon calmly asks Logan if he has forgotten who his client is. He warns him not to test his patience. Then he gives Logan an order: clean up the scene and place Do-yeon and Gavin back inside their vehicle. As Moon walks away, he makes one final remark. He says it is finally time to embrace his role as the true villain. The statement reveals just how far his plan has gone. Nothing about this situation is accidental. Meanwhile, Hannah suddenly wakes up. She immediately calls out for her brother. As she looks around, something feels strangely familiar. The surroundings remind her of Yuri Petrov's cruise ship. The realization hits her hard. She remembers Julio. Suddenly, she begins questioning everything he has done. Why did he stop her from reaching her brother? Why did he promise to help her if he was only going to interfere? Anger quickly replaces confusion. Hannah storms out of the room and enters a meeting already in progress. She cautiously asks whether she is interrupting something important. Everyone immediately turns toward her. Julio stands up and asks how she is feeling. Hannah finds the question almost insulting. After all, he was the one who injected her with the syringe. She forces herself to stay calm. Then she asks the only question that matters: where is her brother? The entire room falls silent. Nobody wants to answer first. Eventually, Julio admits that Do-yeon is probably no longer at the coordinates. He explains that he had no other choice. The FBI was already preparing to launch a search operation, so he had to act quickly. Hannah is devastated. She grabs Julio by the shirt and reminds him of his promise. She trusted him to help her find Do-yeon. Now it feels like that trust meant nothing. Julio says nothing. He simply stares at her. The silence only makes Hannah angrier. After a tense moment, she finally releases his shirt. Hannah announces that she is leaving. She is willing to search for Do-yeon even if it means swimming through the open sea. Julio calls after her, but Hannah refuses to stop. She walks away with tears streaming down her face. Julio reaches for her hand. Hannah immediately pulls away and accuses him of being a hypocrite. Her disappointment is impossible to hide. Then her phone suddenly rings. Hannah quickly answers, hoping it is Do-yeon. Unfortunately, the voice on the other end belongs to someone else. The caller introduces himself as Moon-Kong. Hannah immediately asks about her brother. Moon calmly explains that things became a little physical, but he assures her that Do-yeon is still alive. The news gives Hannah a brief sense of relief. Moon then reveals something darker. He originally intended to assassinate Do-yeon, but when he saw how much Do-yeon resembled Hannah, he changed his mind. The strange resemblance apparently saved her brother's life. Moon tells Hannah that she should already understand who he really is. Then he reveals another threat. He has traced her location through the phone call. Once the call ends, he plans to send her coordinates to the FBI. He then asks what she thinks will happen to the dilettante standing beside her. The warning is obvious. Moon wants Hannah to stay away from Julio and his affairs. Instead, he offers her another choice. He invites Hannah to come to him. Her brother is there. She can see him for herself. The offer immediately forces Hannah to reconsider everything. While still on the phone, Hannah connects the final pieces. The voice, the knowledge, the strange behavior, and the missing identity all suddenly make sense. The man speaking to her is Yansong. Moon chuckles when he realizes she has figured it out. He admits that he expected her to connect the dots quickly. Hannah is furious. She promises that the next time they meet, she will put a gun to his neck and make him regret everything. She ends the call and puts her phone away. Then she turns toward Julio. She asks whether he already knew about all of this. Julio responds by pulling her into an embrace and apologizing. Hannah immediately returns to the real issue. She asks about Do-yeon's safety. Julio reassures her that he has already paid a heavy price to protect her brother. When Hannah asks who he paid, Julio gives a chilling answer. He says he paid with death. According to Julio, Valentine's Day will now keep a close watch on Moon-Kong. Hannah remains skeptical. After all, Moon is still one of Logan's clients. Julio calmly explains how mercenary loyalty works. In the end, loyalty belongs to whoever can pay the most. The answer does little to comfort Hannah. She knows money can change everything. Still, Hannah makes Julio an offer. She will go to the FBI and testify that Julio is a victim. In exchange, she wants one thing: Do-yeon's safety. To Hannah's surprise, Julio agrees. He jokingly describes himself as a nice villain who was exploited by her. Meanwhile, he calls Hannah a bad villain who took advantage of him. Their strange relationship remains as complicated as ever. Julio then promises that Hannah will not need to go to the FBI. He leans closer and makes one final request. He wants a kiss. Hannah looks at him carefully. Then she asks what will happen if she refuses. The question leaves Julio with a knowing expression. Whatever happens next could change their entire relationship. With a mischievous smile, Julio tells Hannah that if she refuses his request, he will simply have to steal a kiss. He then plants a quick kiss on her cheek. Hannah grabs his shirt and tells him to act like his usual self, playfully calling him a dilettante.